Yeah, the MacArthur Foundation was established in 1978 with the headquarters in Chicago. Here in Nigeria, the office was opened in 1994. And since that, 1994, we have worked in various areas, including population and reproductive health, higher education, girls' secondary education, human rights, on the Niger Delta. And recently, our focus has been around accountability and anti-corruption. And in doing this work around accountability and anti-corruption, we are doing four major things. One is support for independent media. We know that media is critical and very important in bringing about accountability and holding those people in power to account and to hold them to be responsible. And we believe that an independent media is necessary and essential for the democracy and for democratic practices in Nigeria. And so we support like 40 or 45 media organizations in Nigeria.
Hello. South Africans are today holding their breaths, wondering how long their president will remain in power. President Cyril Ramaphosa is facing a scandal that has refused to go away. The so-called cash in sofa scandal involves cattle, a sofa, and the theft of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some put the money involved in millions. The spokesman for the president has said that Mr. Ramaphosa has no plan to resign, but it all depends on the outcome of an upcoming meeting of the leaders of the African National Congress, ANC. The president's supporters tag the fights as an all-or-nothing battle between a decent man trying to clean up a corruption-ridden country and the forces of evil that benefit from the corruption. It is similar to what Nigeria's government under President Muhammadu Buhari called corruption fighting back. The scandal started when the president's political rival, connected to disgraced former President Jacob Zuma, alleged that millions of dollars hidden in a sofa had gone missing from Mr. Ramaphosa's high-end game farm and that there had been a police cover-up. The president, a wealthy businessman and former liberation struggle icon, denied the allegation, while the president has insisted that he put in his business under a blind trust. Political observers in South Africa have raised questions that have remained unanswered. As new details leak and the president's handlers mismanage information, there is doubt across the country on how long the president will remain in office. In Nigeria, authorities have dropped charges against a student accused of calling Nigeria's First Lady, Aisha Buhari, a fat woman who became fat by embezzling Nigeria's resources. It followed a week of public criticism over the news of the student's arrest and reported torture in Aso Rock. Nigerian social media space rose in support of the student's rights and in total condemnation of the First Lady for taking the laws into her hands. During a budget presentation in Senegal's parliament, a fight broke out between the opposition members and pro-government MPs. Take a look.
A massive brawl broke up in Senegal's parliament on Thursday, pitting the opposition lawmakers and pro-government legislators. Lawmakers exchanged blows and hurled a chair in the parliament on Thursday over a perceived insult towards an influential pro-opposition religious leader. The bust-up erupted during a vote on the Justice Ministry's budget for 2023. It was sparked by remarks by a pro-government female MP Aminde made about Sering Mustafa Sy, a Muslim leader who supports the opposition but is not a lawmaker. On November 27, she accused him of betraying his word and disrespecting President Macky Sall, according to media reports. Some members of the governing coalition, as well as feminist activists, lashed a physical attack on DI, which coincides with the awareness campaign about violence against women and girls. Opposition lawmakers have stated that they will oppose any resumption of parliament work until the female MP apologizes.
Senegalese will forget that ISO if the country defeats England today in the group of 16 games set to play at 2 p.m. New York time. Senegal won its African Cup, first African Cup this February, and is one of the 2 remaining African teams at the ongoing World Cup in Qatar. The other country is Morocco, which will play against Spain on Tuesday for a spot in the coveted group of 8. In 2002, some 20 years ago, Senegal reached the last 8 at the World Cup. On the other hand, England reached the World Cup semi-final in Russia 4 years ago and finished as runners-up at the European Championships last year. The winner of the game today will face either defending champions France or Poland in the quarterfinals. It is 4:30 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, 10:30 a.m. in New York City, 5:30 p.m. in Johannesburg, South Africa, and 7:30 p.m. in Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo. Wherever in the world you're watching us, welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. My name is Rudolf Okonkwo. My co-host, Chidonoma, is on assignment. On our show today is Dr. Kole Shettima. Dr. Shettima is the African Director of the MacArthur Foundation. Since 1994, when MacArthur Foundation came to Nigeria, it has given out over $400 million in grants. Before joining the MacArthur Foundation in 1999, Shatima taught at the University of Maiduguri, the University of Toronto, Ohio University, and so many others. Shatima has a PhD from the University of Toronto, a master's degree from Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, and his undergraduate degree from the University of Maiduguri. Now, listen to Dr. Shettima in action.
My name is Kole Shettima. I work with the MacArthur Foundation. I'm based in Abuja, and the foundation is a grant-making institution which has been in Nigeria since 1994. We have been supporting work especially around elections, because elections is a very important issue, and we have been looking at how can technology help to have a much more transparent and accountable elections. As a result of the development of technology, social media, I think that the field is beginning to take up and to try to have a bigger role in the lives of citizens and people. I think that a lot of it, I think, have been really pushed by issues around elections. Is a big part of the reason why it is now maturing. But I would still say that it's still at a very an early stage of development. It's still at a stage in which I think it's yet to mature and become a big field in itself. I think that the field is gathering momentum, and we hope that in very, very near future, I think that new ideas, new ways of using civic tech will be developed in the country as well.
All right. Dr. Shettima, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Rudolf. And happy to join you today.
Yes, I really appreciate you coming today. I know today most people are watching the World Cup, and all the people that joined us, we appreciate you bringing out the time to join us. This is very important to the country, the conversation we are going to have today. Let me start by talking about the World Cup. Let me play a video for you and get your take on this.
In Qatar 2022 at the World Cup, where are the Super Eagles?
Where are the Super Eagles? Where are the Super Eagles?
So a lot of people are asking, where are the Super Eagles today at the World Cup? And we know people have said that what happened to the Super Eagle is like a metaphor about Nigeria. This is a country with potentials and possibilities, but when you get to the top places in the world where nations with the same potential as Nigeria show up, then Nigeria will not show up. And the reason why Nigeria is not there most of the time is those issues that we all know. What is your take on that?
Well, thank you very much. Certainly, I think that we all missed the Super Eagles in Qatar, and we wish that Nigeria will have been represented. I'm sure Nigerians will have been very excited about that. Unfortunately, I think we crashed out during the preliminaries, and which certainly I think that it was a very hard and difficult thing for all Nigerians to watch the Eagles out of the game. And certainly, I think that our issues and troubles and the context of Nigeria, in one way or the other, probably have also contributed to where we are in terms of our soccer and other things. Just reminds me of the 1990s. I believe it was Kanu who was saying that Argentina is great, but Nigeria is gold. I think following our wonderful performance in the 1990s, I believe that was one of the matches that all of us were proud of. Unfortunately, we can't say that Nigeria is gold at this moment. I hope that we will gather steam and get ready for the next 4 years and to ensure that Nigeria is well represented in the next World Cup in North America.
All right. The other competition going on is the one for president in Nigeria and other positions, because we always focus on the president, but we have other positions going on. And it's something that your organization is very interested in making sure that it goes well. Recently, your organization supported Kadiri Ahmed's the candidates series of interviews with candidates. And the two major contenders didn't show up. How do you feel about that?
Well, we don't really determine who shows up or who doesn't show up. The fact, the good news is that, people are given the chance and opportunity to come and present themselves, including, I think what also people didn't know was that we had only one female candidate. We tried our best, put in additional resources to ensure that the only female candidate in the 2023 election should be given a position, should have the opportunity to present herself as well. She was just incommunicado, so she didn't show up as well as the two other major candidates that you mentioned. I think for me, it was a loss of an opportunity for the candidates to present themselves, to present their ideas and sell themselves to Nigerians. I'm happy that other people took advantage of that to come and tell Nigerians what they plan to do, what their hopes are, what their aspirations are. And I think that in every democratic setting, I think that should be the way to go, rather than not going to show up your face as well.
Yeah, but I understand that. I know I'm not saying that there's a way to force people to shop, but what will be the next option for the citizens who you hope that they will be educated, they will get the opportunity to know these people who are running for office? What will be the next option for them? How are they going to evaluate these candidates? I know that there is another town hall meeting taking place today. Arise TV and some other media organizations, and these candidates are still not showing up.
Yeah, as you also may know that, I am the board of chair of the Center for Democracy and Development, and CDD is organizing that event with Arise TV. And I think that I'm aware that some of the candidates say that they don't want to show up as well, which for me is unfortunate as well, because in every democratic system, I think that one way in which citizens will be able to evaluate their candidates and also to make an informed choice or choices about people is really to hear them, to ask them the most relevant questions that they care about, and for the candidates also to present themselves and tell Nigerians what they plan to do for us and other things. If we don't have that opportunity of having this very transparent and open way of asking those questions and other things, I'm afraid that people will not be, unfortunately, maybe people might be guided by other sentiments or other issues rather than the record of those people, and therefore people may not be able to hold those people accountable for whatever they say. Because I think that the good things about these town halls is that people go on record, and that record, I think you can always go back to it and remind people or the candidate that this is what they promised to do, so we can hold them accountable for what they promised to do. But unfortunately, if those opportunities are not there, then really it is very difficult for us to see how we can really measure them, whoever becomes the president in 2023.
Now, I also know that your foundation, you try to work with the organizations you support to make sure that every candidate is given equal opportunity to air their view and express themselves. If they don't show up for these opportunities, is that does that favor what should be done in that situation? Is it?
Are you suggesting that we should get a police to go and arrest some people and come and appear? We can only use democratic methods in order to, to further our democracy. And I think the best way we can really do that is to ensure that everyone is given the opportunity to present themselves. And I think that that is what we have been trying to do, in trying to make sure that the process is transparent and accountable. It's an open process, give chance to all those who are qualified to do that. I think we also did it with the Women Radio program, whereby, at their annual event, they invited the candidates to come and present themselves in terms of what are the perspectives of women and what are the issues that women care for. Of course, there are also some of the candidates showed up. A number of them did not show up as well. But it's very, as I said, I'm happy that some of those people showed up. I think they took the advantage of, presenting themselves and their ideas. I believe that those town halls are really critical and very important. I think that many people were pleased with the way in which some of the candidates have answered their question. Probably also their candidates have succeeded in changing the minds of many people who were there as well. So kudos to them. Unfortunate that others, did not do that one, and that one is certainly something that Rudolf, we can't do much about that one at this point.
All right. Let me go to a different aspect. You support investigative journalism, and in this election season, there have been some reports, investigative reports that came out. I wanted to know what you think about this particular report that came out concerning the APC's presidential candidate, about the issue he had with the Justice Department in the United States in the 1990s. Have you had a chance to look at the report? I know I'm not saying you supported the people that did the investigation, but in general, what do you think about such reports and how it's playing out in the public arena?
Well, Rob, as you know, as you said, we support investigative reporting throughout the country on many, many issues, including during the elections. We don't really have an opinion about what the report says or what the report didn't say. Our job is to make sure that the reports are there, and then for the public to make up their mind. And I think that is my own short answer to it, was to say that, look, I think that we should definitely investigate, report, bring out everything about every candidate, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what they have done very well, what they have not done very well. And we should hold them accountable for all the things that they have done and other things. And that is what we think is critical and very important. And then it is left for the citizens based on whatever parameter they use to make the judgments at this point.
All right, that's fair. Then there is this thing that happened last week, where the wife of the president of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, was essentially forced to withdraw charges against a student that was arrested for what we say body shaming her, maybe accusing her of embezzling money in Nigeria. What do you think about how it played out? Some people are saying that we made a progress, that there's progress made, that the Nigerian people or the public space or the civil societies came together, said that this is not right, and it forced the government or the first lady to withdraw the charges against this student.
No, I think this is why I think supporting civil society is so critical for our democracy. Because the best of the government with the best of intentions, if we allow them just to do what they do, they will always do the wrong things. And that's why I think that it's very important, very critical that, we support an independent civil society, we support an independent media, so that people can do the reporting without fear, and through that, been swayed to do other things. And by the way, there is actually another young woman who in Kaduna have also come to reiterate the same thing and has challenged that she should be imprisoned by anybody who wants to do that. So that is also there. But I think the fact that civil society stood up and in support of that one is so important, very critical, because as I said before, even with the best of intentions, government must be held accountable, and they should not just be allowed to go like that and think that, oh, our friends are in government and they will not do the wrong things and therefore will go and sleep. It doesn't happen that way. We have to be very vigilant. We have to protect the civic society. We have to ensure that the rights of individuals wherever they are protected and promoted all the time. And I'm happy that the outcry by citizens, I think, have led to this development. I think kudos to Nigerian civil society. I've always have faith in the civil society in Nigeria. I think that there are very strong organizations, strong voices, strong individuals who have very credible lens to bring to many conversations in the country. And I think that all these things is something that I think we should celebrate. And I think that we don't celebrate civil society enough. I think that unfortunately many people think of civil society in the negative terms, but I think that civil society is so critical and very important. And as Rudolf, there are so many civil society groups and organizations that are doing so many things for our country. Those who are in the supply of water, in HIV/AIDS, in health services, in educational services. I mean, without those organizations around the country, I think that many Nigerians will be in a big trouble. So I'm very excited that also in terms of our rights and our freedoms, in terms of freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and others, we have these very strong organizations. And as you all know, this has been a historical fact that since the days of the Civil Liberties Organization of the CDHR and others, and these organizations have continued in different forms, and many of these older generation of civic society groups have actually now metamorphosized into many other organizations that are really doing great work in the country, for which I think we should all be very happy that they are there, because people may have bad impression about them, but it's tomorrow when you are actually in trouble that why these groups are critical and very important to all of us.
Now, how was it before you have all these organizations, MacArthur Foundation, Ford Foundation? How was the Nigerian environment in terms of civil societies? How was it before then?
The interesting thing is that at that time, really, the middle class was very strong. People paid for all these things to happen. No one even was looking up to the MacArthur's or Ford Foundation to do many of the things that they were doing. I mean, people, these are activists who, most of them were formed through the students' movement and through the students' organizations. And many of them, committed to those values. Many of them are people who saw their own mission in life as bringing about transformation in our society. So this is a life call for many of those people who were initially involved in the process. So at that time, whether there was MacArthur or there's a Ford or whatever other foundations were really immaterial, partly because the middle class at that time, even as students, you get your allowance or whatever it is, it will go, you pay for your transportation from Lagos to Calabar to wherever you go. And when you go there also, you'll meet your colleagues there who will take care of you and ensure that you have every sense of decent living in wherever you go to. You have professors and your teachers who will, give their own salaries for the same course that you believe in, I think. So I think that if you think of them as the legacy institutions like CLO and CDHR and others, all of them, the Nigeria Labour Congress of those days and others, all of them really were there, run by middle class people who are salaried workers, but their salary is also, they committed their salaries towards a greater goal than themselves. And I think that was what really enabled these groups and organizations to continue where they were. They are. So irrespective of whether you get funding from outside the country or not. But unfortunately, as the middle class has eroded, the salaries of people can no longer take them. Their take home can no longer take them home. They are in a bigger problem and shit and other things. So the material condition of the middle class has significantly eroded. It is almost impossible for those people now to really even, think of just, your minimum wage is 30,000 naira. Your air ticket from Abuja to Lagos is 70,000 naira. I'm not saying that you should go by air, but even if you are going to go by road from Abuja to Lagos, probably you'll be paying about 20,000 naira, which is like 2/3 of your minimum income in order to do that. So it is just impossible, given the condition that we find ourselves, to expect the same kind of commitment and the passion and things to be there at this time.
That's true. Let me ask you. There are people you support that sometimes run into trouble with the government because of the work they do. How does that make the organization? What is in place for people like that? Say reporters or people who do other kinds of work.
So, so we have a group of 4 foundations in Abuja: MacArthur Foundation, Ford Foundation, Illuminate, and Open Society. I think we came to realize that whatever we do, whether it is MacArthur or Ford or Illuminate or Open Society, unless we really ensure that there is a vibrant civic space, we cannot achieve what we want to achieve. If the democracy fails, there's nothing really much you can do. So as a result of that, then we decided to put together what we call the Joint Donors Basket, Joint Donors Civic Space Fund. And the fund, what it does is essentially what you said. There are people, for example, in some village or in some rural area outside of the eyes of the major media houses who are struggling to report on certain things, and somebody in the local government or the state governor doesn't like what is happening. They just get them, clamp them, throw them out in somewhere place. So we try to see how can we provide those individuals, and how do we ensure that those individuals are able to survive in this kind of difficult situation. Or some human rights activists who are there, who are doing all kinds of great work, but they have been harassed, their phones have been seized, or whatever happens. But also to do a number of preventive things. For example, cybersecurity for media organizations and media houses, which is very important. Or to provide even training on physical security, because some of them travel to very dangerous places, and I think they should learn, and their workers should also learn, how to protect themselves. Some other also in terms of even their own workplace. There are toxic workplaces where there is a lot of sexual harassment. There is all kinds of environmental issues that affect the thriving of their workers and other things. So we thought that one of the things that I think we should be thinking about as organizations, how do we bring together a fund jointly supported by these 4 organizations in order to support activists and citizens who are just trying to do the right thing in the right way, but because some person in power or in authority, or even non-state actors who are not happy with what these people are doing, they can go after them and make their life more difficult. And so we thought that, okay, maybe supporting some funding that will support the civic space in Nigeria is an essential element of the work that we do, an essential element for our democracy, so that, if it is journalists who are reporting on things, the newspaper should not be just closed down. Or if they need the legal representation, in the media and illegal representation, someone accuses them of something, and if we think that the accusation was just a political vendetta, I think they should be supported in order to defend themselves. There are people whose lives have been threatened, and so they need some place where they can go and relocate for some days or something. I think that we should give them the support that they need, so that we can support their own physical well-being as well.
Yeah, I like that. I know that I had you speaking in one video that you support over 400 and something media organizations in Nigeria. And it made me to think, so without MacArthur Foundation, would there be media? How much of the media space will be there?
Well, certainly, I think there will be media. There's no doubt about that one. There will be media. I think that, yes, we support, probably. So I actually have even lost number because I think that we support through the Shoenka Center like 26 organizations. We support ourselves directly more than about 12, 13 organizations. And then we just set up a fund, which we'll call the Media Development Investment Fund. And the Media Development Investment Fund, what it does is really to make it possible for media to experiment with different revenue models and business models in the country. So, but let me just directly answer your question. Yes, there will be media in Nigeria, but it's going to it may be one of those media that give awards to anybody, any day and every time. As the best governor, as the best local government, or whatever government. And then when you look at the record, you don't know why people are being given those records and other things. So there will be media, but is that an independent, credible media that you can go to and look for answers to your questions? Probably not. But now, going back to my own propaganda about Media Development Investment Fund, which is to say that, we believe that an independent media is critical, but it's only also possible with an independent or multiple revenue sources. You can have an editorial independence when you don't have to be like covering every governor's speech or steps that he takes. Otherwise, what happened then is that you are just going to be telling us what the governor have done in the morning, in the 2 o'clock, what he's doing, 4 o'clock, what the governor is doing, 6 p.m., what the governor is doing, before he goes to bed, that's going. So that's kind of media, I think, that we are trying to avoid. So we thought that one way to do that is that how can we support media organizations to develop multiple revenue streams so that they are not dependent on one source, including MacArthur Foundation, but they will be able to experiment with different revenue models. And that we believe is critical and very important so that they are not dependent on one source in order for them to survive. So many of them are looking, for example, at membership. Some people are trying to say, okay, can we develop membership around our media organizations? Or others are looking at the possibility of doing some subscriptions. Can we do some subscriptions so that we can have our revenue models? Others are even looking at some other forms of, generation of income. Some are looking at, developing like training models or some consultancy services that they can develop and other things so that they can go on let income, however small it is. And of course, also trying to, boost their presence in the social media, in the global media, so that they can attract investment. They can attract, some of them actually attract investment, but a lot of also advertisement and other things. So we think that part of the critical thing that we need to do for the ecosystem is to support the development of multiple revenue streams for the media in Nigeria as a critical element of the work that we need to do. If we want an independent editorial content, if we want to have an independent media, a media that will be able to speak power to truth and not to be beholden to one person or one organization, however benevolent how that person or that organization is.
Now, I also discovered just within the last 2 days that MacArthur has spent 400 million in Nigeria since 1994. And if you add to what Ford Foundation and other major foundations, maybe up to $1 billion. The question, there are a lot of people who have not heard about MacArthur or who are actually doing some work that are not aware of that possibility of being supported by organizations like MacArthur, especially those in the rural areas, in the villages and in other parts of. So how do they, if they are watching and they are interested in reaching out to the organization, to try to show what they are doing and how you could, or the organization could support them? What's the process?
Well, first of all, I'm very happy that people don't know that MacArthur is doing what he's doing. And this is very important because this is not about us. It's not about the the organizations or the individuals who are doing what they are doing and other things. I think this our work. We want our work to speak for itself, rather than putting ourselves everywhere and telling people that we are good people, so support us. I mean, it doesn't make sense, for us to be doing those kind of things and other things as well. So I can understand that a lot of people, I think, would like to reach out to us, and I think that it is one of the easiest things. Many people go to our websites and look at what we are doing, and they write on an email, and we respond to whatever their requests are. Other people, just by word of mouth, I think they get to hear that, oh, this is MacArthur Foundation that is doing ABCD, or is Illuminate, or Open Society, or Ford is doing ABCD. They reach out to us as individuals and ask us questions about what we do and other things. And I think that for me, I think that I have, in my view, I think that my phone is number, I think at some point is even on the website somewhere. I think everyone knows my my phone number anyway. And I definitely make sure that I respond to people who write to us and who call us or send us a WhatsApp message or whatever way they reach us, and we tell them what we do and other things. And that is the reality. The unfortunate reality also is that, less than 2%, 3% of the people who approach us really get supported. So I tell people that, look, our job is one of the most difficult one. Don't think this is glamorous. Yeah, because you also don't want to be telling people no. It's not. It's a little bit toxic to be saying no to people. So, but that is the reality, because you also have your own limited resources. So you have to make very, very difficult decisions. Those decisions sometimes are correct, but we also make mistakes in whatever some of the decisions that we make and other things. And so it's not an easy work, but sometimes actually we also reach out to people. Sometimes we read a column somewhere and other things. For example, Rudolf, I don't know if you contacted us or not, can't remember, but I know that we watch some programs and other things, and we see some people who are doing some good things in other places, and then we say, okay, why don't we reach out to those people and see how we may be able to support them. Some people, we listen to the radios, we read newspaper columns, we watch the net and see some things which we think are exciting other things, and we try to say, okay, why don't we try to reach out to those people and support them. So I think that communicating with us is really a two-way process. Sometimes some people reach out to us, and sometimes we also reach out to people when we think that they are doing some good thing that we should support them.
All right. Just so I'll announce to our viewers that in another 20-something minutes, we can let you join us. And if you have a question for Dr. Shettima, you can ask him a question, and we are going to put up the link at that point. So stand by. And let me go back to your background. How did you become interested in this? You went through the normal path, went to school. How did that happen? How did you get interested in this? You were teaching in the university. I mean, how did that happen that you left and went into MacArthur?
Well, yeah, that is interesting. So I think that even as a child, I was always involved in community work. I always did a lot of community work. I was involved with my community in different ways. I was very much rooted in our community. I was an adult educator. When people go to the farm and they come back, I go and teach them ABCD and all kind of things. Very active in our students' organization. Very active also in our student union at the university and other things. So for me, I think that moving and then being a university teacher, another form of public service. So I think that moving to the foundation, I think that I consider that was a great opportunity, a very rare privilege to be responsible for spending resources in a very much accountable and responsible and responsive way to do for public good. And I thought that that was something that I thought it was very exciting to have that one. So for me, it was a very rare privilege and opportunity, really, to do the work in the foundation, where you have, the resources to, to promote the, the values that you always believed in. The values of human rights, the values of the rights of women to have choices, the values of having a good society that takes care of everyone in society. So, is something that you always believe in, but now you actually even have the resources to do that. That is a very, very, very rare privilege that any one of us can have. And I'm very lucky and very fortunate to be one of those people who have that opportunity to do that kind of work.
Yeah, but also what I wanted to get to is also, is there anything in your upbringing that made you interested in the underprivileged, underrepresented people in society? Because we see a lot of people in the political space in Nigeria that we can say, it's not about not having the opportunity to help people, that they don't have it in them. They don't see the underprivileged, they don't see the underserved. They basically care about themselves. Is there anything in the upbringing that you have that pointed you in that direction?
Well, certainly, I think that I went to I could have been from Niger Republic, if the colonialists have made some mistake in drawing the maps and other things. So I came from one of those very remote areas of Nigeria where access to water was the biggest challenge that we had coming up in that place. You went to a secondary school where the first class you go into is a community school. The first one is a thatch classroom, and then you move into a zinc, and then you move to an asbestos, and then by the time that you reach Form 4, then you really go into a real block classroom, and then you finish your Form 5 in another platform, where you start with a candle, and then you have a tilly lamp, then you have a gas lamp, and then by the time that you get to Form 4, you have electricity to class study and other things. I lost my dad at a very young age. I don't remember him. I was brought up by my family, other family members and other things. So I think that definitely all these things have been very central to what I do, and I definitely these things have shaped my perception about society and what I should do and what I should not do. And so I think that to me the cause of social justice is so critical and so important in our society, and to ensure that we have an inclusive society, a society that treats whoever you are, wherever you come from, to be treated as a human being, as a dignity, because that is exactly how I want to be treated as well. And we strive to do that one. And at the foundation, I think this is central to the work we do around gender and social inclusion. Myself, I was one of the early people who were part of the formation of women in Nigeria, because I believe in the rights of women and to be treated fairly with dignity as human beings. And that is something that I worked very well with. When I came to study in Canada, I think I was one of the people who established an organization called the Interchurch Coalition on Africa. I believe that working together ecumenically with other people of different faiths, not necessarily you want to convince anybody to change their religion or anything, but to see that there's a bigger world where all of us, or all people of faith, can contribute to a better world. I think that is central to what I believe in. And in the foundation, we try to express those values in terms of the amount of money that we give to groups and organizations and other things. We strive to be doing that. I'm sure there may be shortcomings in what we do, but definitely I think that is something always at the back of our mind whenever we walk, wherever we walk, and whatever we do.
Now, in an interview with Vanguard newspaper in 2011, you said that you don't dream to live like people above you, and that you always look at those who are less fortunate than you are. Since 2011, the number of people who are less fortunate than you are in Nigeria has increased by a large margin. How does that make you feel?
Very bad, very sad. I think that, how do we measure a society is based on, how we treat our most vulnerable people. And I think that the fact that, the level of poverty in our country have just blown up, I think it's an indication of the fact that, as a society, we are retrogressing and not progressing. Because if we cannot, ensure that our people can get decent meals, 3 square meals in a day, and they cannot live in an environment that protect them from some of the basic things in life, malaria, cholera, diarrhea, all those kind of things. All these things that really cost nothing compared with the humongous amount of money that our government spend on so many things, or we as individuals we spend on so many irrelevant things in life and other things. I think we should always be reminded by the fact that whatever we spend, they will go on frivolous things, but whatever we spend on other people will always be grateful for the fact that we have done the right thing. I think so. Our country, I think, has unfortunately retrogressed since then. We are in a much more poorer situation than where we are as people. We may have Abuja now, we may have some big structures and other things, but that does not really talk about the real human beings who are really suffering on a day-to-day basis as a result of our inability to use our resources effectively and efficiently to address the concerns of the common people of our country.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the same interview, you also said, and I want you to, it's fascinating to me, but I want to understand it very well. You said, I always pray to God never to give me something I can't share with others.
Yeah, because, is it the greed that, and love for wealth and resources that people, that's why it makes them so blindfolded by what they see around them and other things that happening. It's insane in my view to live in a society where you see so many people who are so poor and so desperate, and people are living in uplands, and people who don't seem to know anything about anything that is happening to the poor people of our country and our people in our things. So what's the point in having all these things when you turn around you? But I think that now we have even come to realize, I think that even we are now coming to see that we may have all the big cars and other things, but we cannot drive from Abuja to Kaduna without worrying about that. On Lagos to Abuja, Lagos to Ibadan is becoming a nightmare. Even trying to drive within our city is becoming a nightmare. So I think that even if yes, we can have all the things that are more and above other people, but the fact that we can no longer even enjoy them, we cannot even use them, that makes it nonsense for us to have all these things that you cannot even use anyway.
Mm. Now, I know there are various aspects of the foundation, places you're interested in. You mentioned girl education in one interview as a vaccine against many of our problems.
Yes.
What, why, let me reframe this. What progress have been made in that aspect in Nigeria?
Well, we have made progress in numbers, but I'm not sure that we have not made progress in terms of quality. I think quality is where I think we are lacking. But even the progress in numbers is not that very encouraging. I think we could have done much better than where we are. But I think that when you look at the quality, that is where I think it gets worst. And the quality has impact in terms of numbers. Because for parents who are rational human beings, if you have a daughter, okay, and we come and convince you that sending your daughter to school is a very good thing, and you said, yeah, but fine, I will allow my daughter to go to school. She goes to school from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She comes out, she cannot write even one good sentence. Okay, now maybe if we have allowed you and not, can I say, have done bad propaganda to send you to school, maybe you will have got her married, and maybe that would have been a rational thing for you to do. But now you are convinced that, okay, you need to go to school. She now goes to school. She comes out of the school. She cannot write one sentence of good English that she can write. She doesn't have any skills that she has. And therefore, rationally, it is now making it more difficult to convince people even to send their own children to school, because the school that they send them to, they come out illiterate, lack skills. They see that they have actually wasted their time. Maybe they should have helped them in doing their farm. I think that would have been for them a rational thing to do, or maybe just get them married so that they didn't have to worry about whether they're going to get pregnant or not going pregnant and other things. So peasants have a rational way of thinking, and I think that is where, for me, where the bigger challenge and what bigger problem is the fact that we haven't made a lot of progress, especially in terms of the quality of education, given skills to our young people, and ensuring that they have some employability skills, which is critical and very important, so that they can be a source of an inspiration. They can be a source of pride for other people, so that people, they can now join all those and people can look up to them and say, okay, this is a girl who have gone to school, and look at how she is. She's much better than the rest of us in society. But if she comes out of the school not looking different from the others who are not going to school, then we have not really done much as a society, as a country. I think that it is very shameful that we are still dealing with this major problem. And I think that if you look at it across the country, you can see that, yes, there are increase in terms of enrollment, but I think that the quality of education is actually now dampening the appetite of parents to send their girls to school, because if they have to act rationally, probably it's more rational for them to let them stay at home than taking them to school, where they come out as dumb as they went into school. Nothing has changed. They become more of a problem for them in the society, as parents see it, than becoming a beacon of hope for the family, for the society, and for the country.
Mm-hmm. I looked at the statistics about out-of-school kids in Nigeria, and it appears as if it's going down. It's worse than it was before. I wanted to know if your foundation has looked at something like the Almajiri phenomenon that we see in northern Nigeria. There are kids out of school across the country, but the one where they are seen on the streets, moving around and begging, and what have you looked at that, and has there been anything done? Why is it something that for years has not been able to be resolved?
Well, we have done something about it, but really we came to it during the COVID-19. If you recall, one of the manifestations of COVID-19 was the number of Almajiri children who were affected by COVID. Because, of course, people just, saw that these problems of our society, of course, their own accommodation, their sanitary condition, their where they live and where they eat and everything exposed them to COVID more than many other groups in our society as well. So we thought that, let's approach it from the perspective of COVID-19. And of course, as you may remember also that, governors just started to now, bundling these kids and then essentially throwing them out of their state to other states. And abdicating their own responsibility as well, So we thought that, well, this is both a human rights issue in terms of the way in which they were treated, but also it's an issue that, has to do with a major fundamental problem in our society, because Almajiri children are poor children. The child of Kole Shettima will not be an Almajiri. The child of any of the big malams or any of those people, none of their children are Almajiris. All of their children, even if they go to Quranic schools or whatever school they go to a well-organized Quranic schools. They are not sent to Kano or Zaria or any of those places to be begging and trying to study in those kind of contexts. So it is fundamentally it's a question of poverty. In the case of our underclass of people in our society, that we don't care about them, just as in anything that has to do with poor people, we don't care about them anyway. So that was the approach that we came into this conversation around Almajiri system, and we tried to, first of all, just to do some of the immediate response in terms of the COVID-19, to ensuring that, people like them also have the right to know how they are infected by COVID-19, how they can prevent themselves from COVID-19, ensuring that they get access to the same kind of treatment that other people are getting as well. So that was the immediate kind of thing. But then we try to look at the structural problems that actually lead into that one. And we have worked with a number of groups and organizations, and I think that we brought people from, or those organizations brought people from Mauritania, from Senegal, across the Sahara, because this is in some ways a Sahelian problem also. Try to have a conversation about the system of education, why it has failed to do what it is supposed to do, and other things as well. But as I said, this was for us was a one-time, really, a COVID-19 intervention. It's not part of our regular program that you can think about. So in some ways, it's not something that we have looked at it in the long term, but more of a, and what really happened at that time was that the foundation went to the market, borrowed money, and said, look, a lot of people are suffering because of COVID-19. Can we borrow money so that we can do something about that? As you know, COVID-19, nobody foresaw it. So everyone was scrambling for resources. So the foundation went to the market, borrowed some money. We also in Nigeria were given some money and said, okay, how can you address some of those challenges, and how we went into the Al-Majri system as well. But I think that the 15 or 16 million or whatever number that we've been quoted is also, I think, include the number of people who are not going to school because of insecurity as well. So it's not only just that the Al-Majri system that is contributing to the problem, but also the reality that there are many schools that have closed. Many children are no longer going to school just because of insecurity as well.
We'll soon bring in our viewers who want to ask questions. But while we do that, I want to ask you, have you thought about, life after MacArthur Foundation? What you are going to do? I don't know how.
Have you? Do you have a job for me? That is what I want to
No. I was thinking that apart from doing the work you are doing, which is very important, also we need people like you in the political space. Why are we always outside kicking the people in there, saying they are not doing the right thing? Have you thought about? There's a Shatima who is running. There could be. When I invited you and people thought I got the I thought that it was Tinubu's VP that I had, but that made me think about, have you thought about that?
Yeah, whenever you think of what you're going to do in public life as an elected position, please let me know so that I can join you in that party and you can be part of that process as well.
All right, that's okay.
But I think I always believe that public service is the best way you can make a change in society. I believe that civil society is critical and very important, and people are making significant contributions. But getting good people in political offices is so important and so critical, because foundations can spend 10 million, 20 million, 30 million per annum and others. But if you have good people in office, people who have access to more than those resources, they can more impactful in our society than what we can do in civil society as well. So for me, I think that working in public service is something critical and very important. And that's why if you look at the perspective of MacArthur, we support government institutions, because we believe that at the end of the day, it's only government can make the difference. If we have good critical governments, all this money and revelation that we hear about, this has gone into the air, this has gone into the air. If we are able to get some people, even if they just use 40, 50%, even if we don't hold them to the 100% of the resources, that can make a lot of difference in the life of our people. Mm-hmm. So I share with you in terms of the issue that you raised about, getting good people into government is so critical and very important. And I think that, we should not shy away. And Rudolf, yourself, I think that you can be a very good chairman of a local government. Don't become a presidential candidate, because that's where we all make the mistake.
After Shore, I will decide.
No, Shore wants to be a president. No. And that's where the mistake we are making. Because, just imagine someone like Blade Gani becoming a senator or a governor of a state instead of trying to become a president of the country. I think that would, for him to be there, I think he can make a lot of, think about the fact that, in a local government, some local governments have, get more resources than what the MacArthur Foundation and others resources have. and they can impact the life of ordinary people so well. So I think that the charge for all of us is that let's not be thinking about becoming a president. It's not about competition because I have a PhD and the other one has a PhD. Therefore, I also have to be a president. Or because I am older than the other one, I want to be, or my classmate is running for president, so I should also be president. It doesn't make sense. If it is about service to the people, then I think that we should be ready to work. Some councillors and local government chairmen and others can have more and bigger impact than what Buhari can do. Buhari will be thinking about what is going to happen to Nigeria and other things. But my mother and my grandmother and other people are thinking about, malaria in our place, water that they have to drink, medicine that they want to do. They don't want to go to hospital and die because of inability to get maternal health services. Those things are so critical and very important in our country that when you start run as a counselor first, and then you can then grow up with this system. If you look at whatever the imperfection of the traditional system, traditional rulers, even if they become whatever they become, you have to be like a village head, you become a district head, you become this head before you become an emir. There's sense in what they are doing. It's not just that you just wake up one day and say, I want to be president of Nigeria, when you have never even held to become a school prefect. How is that possible?
That's true. The other question I wanted to ask before we get them in is, do people, after many years of having foundations, international foundations in Nigeria, have you seen a lot of Nigerians who are wealthy starting off foundations, trying to model it after the international foundations that are in Nigeria?
No, I think this is very important and very critical, that we have to have our people establish their own charities and others. Now, first of all, Nigerians are very charitable people. I know this month of November, last month of November, I'm sure at the minimum you have sent hundreds or $200 or $400 home for one reason or the other one. And people are doing that one. And people at home also, they are spending so much of money in taking care of our people in one for. So Nigerians generally are very, very charitable people. I think the bigger challenge we have is how do we organize our charity in a very organized form? Organized charity is very important. And I try to, in my own classes, sometimes, I ask people, do you know Abiola? Of course, they don't know Abiola. Or those people who know Abiola, they will only think, oh, yeah. His wives are fighting or his children are fighting. They only think of him in negative terms. But this was one of our biggest philanthropists we had in the country. If, at that time, he had organized his charity to be an organized form, like MacArthur, when he was dying in 1978, all he said was that, look, I have made up money. I'm going to leave it to you people to figure out how to spend the money. If that organized form of charity have been established around Abiola, Abiola's name will continue, and we'll never be thinking of Abiola in any of course, there will be negative things about Abiola, but we'll be thinking about more of the good thing that he's doing. So I am very convinced that I think that the way forward for all of us is try to see, how can we have and organize charitable philanthropic organizations in Nigeria that are modeled after the others. And I think that, we can see increasingly, actually, they are coming up. But we can also understand their own shortcomings and limitations. I think many of them will not give money to Rudolf because Rudolf is going to interview someone that they're not happy about, okay? But even if they're going to build schools, or even if they're going to fight polio or whatever, at least that is a significant contribution that they can make to our own society as well.
That's true. And also, I wanted to just add to what you just said, because if you look at some parts of the eastern part of the country, you find people contribute money to rebuild schools, but they don't do this in a formal way such that it will be something that is sustainable. So I think that's an area to look into. All right, let me, I've talked too much. Let me get our people to get involved.
And you have made me to talk too much also. Thank you.
You said?
You have also made me to talk too much.
Osi, welcome to the show. Osi, you have to unmute yourself. Dr. Osi is, I think, okay, Osi. So Osi now, okay, go ahead. This is Dr. Shettima.
Dr. Shettima. Let me join others and welcome you to the program.
Thank you.
Dr. Shettima and I go a long way because
I didn't know.
Yeah, we all worshiping the shrine of Amadioha.
Yes. And Osi cannot ask me very difficult questions. You know why?
No, why?
Okay, but okay, he will tell you maybe. I don't know.
But anyway, I want to especially I just want to make a comment. I want to especially thank you. I want to thank an organization, a people, and most especially a leader who has contributed more than his fair share towards the development of our country. And I say that not very lightly. As somebody who part of the leadership of an organization that is trying to make a change, we've found ourselves coming very close and being a big beneficiary of what Kole and his group they are doing at the MacArthur Foundation. We can all agree that the effect of the civil society organizations in Nigeria, and it's something that their impact is huge, within our space. And so when I mention that, it's with a very, very big sense of gratitude. When we applied for the grant to MacArthur, he didn't know me. I didn't know him, but I just learned about MacArthur and I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And he looked at us, looked at our proposal, and took us on our merits. Now, that is not something that is very common in a country where we know that usually about who you know and makes all the difference. That was not the case. So I want to thank you so much. And I know I'm speaking with the mind of other beneficiaries of the MacArthur Foundation and your able leadership. And I'll join Rudolf in, making my own modest plea that should a curtain be drawn on MacArthur and you are done with heading the organizations, you should seriously consider making the huge resource that you are to our country, because it's very good. It's very easy for us to sit by the side and talk about what is not going right, but we all know the impact all of us can have. It was Emerson who once said that what it takes for the evil men to come into the society and poison it is for the good ones to sit down and watch. So we've decided this time that we're not just going to be spectators. We have to we have to actually be, at the arena and fight the hard fight that is required to turn the fortune of our great country around. So again, I thank you so much, and may you continue to do the good work you're doing at MacArthur. Please tell them that your work is not done and that Nigeria still needs all the resources for them to be able to continue to support the civil society organizations, even in the next 15 to 20 years. Again, thank you so much, and may God bless you immensely for us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Osi. Thank you so much. I was expecting hard question, when we bring people here, I'm hoping that our people will. Peter, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Peter, are you in Nigeria?
Is it because you think there's NEPA, that's why the place is dark? What do you mean?
Yeah, because that's what we only allow people in Nigeria to be in the dark when they come on the show. We understand. If you're somewhere else, we ask you to turn on the light so that we can see you. But if you're in Nigeria, that's okay. We sympathize. All right, Peter, do you have a question for Dr. Shettima? Unmute yourself, Peter. We can't even hear you. So, all right, Peter, we have to leave you for now. We'll come back to you. Man of Prestige, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Peter. We'll come back to you next. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Dr. Shettima. Good morning, OC, and of course, good platform. It's nice to be here today. I'm speaking from the West Coast. I know Rudolf is in the East Coast, so wherever you are, afternoon, morning, evening. Yeah, what an impressive foundation, that you funded. I'm not familiar with it. This is the first time I am hearing of it. Of course, I've been aloof when it comes to Nigerian space, but recently, I'm investigating what's going on in Nigeria, and I'm very curious. Of course, I'll be going home soon. But having said that, from what I just heard you said about your foundation and everything, I think there's a little bit of anti-corruption space for it. So that's what I want to ask you a question in reference to the corruption, which is a pandemic to my country. That's where our country is today because of the corruption. Maybe number one and number two, maybe electricity and other kind of things. But can you give us more information about corruption? Are we heading to the right direction, or are we on the epic phase right now? And how do we combat the corruption in order to have a good governance in Nigeria? Do you have just a little brief? You don't have to go in detail. Thank you, sir.
All right, so Dr. Shettima.
Okay, let me just say something about OC and because when we look at what we're doing in Nigeria, and we definitely figure out that the East is underreported in terms of the media landscape. Of course, you can have people in the East who are in Lagos or in Abuja writing for newspapers and others, but you really don't have very strong media presence in the East that reports on the East, and that to us was really the criteria as to why we thought that his idea about Ikenga Online was the right thing to do and other things, and that was the basis upon which we thought that we need a very strong media presence that reports from the East, because we know and we appreciate all the other people what they are doing, whether they're in Lagos or Abuja, and all the reporting, but you also need some strong indigenous publications that are coming from that one. So that is really the attraction for us and other things. And I think that the challenge that I give to Signature TV and others is, how do we also support local languages? Because Rudolf and others have already, their children are lost in terms of the local languages. So
No. Dr. Shettima, you have not seen my son and my daughter. They speak Igbo.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm very impressed with that one. I'm very happy to hear that one. I'm very happy about that one. So I think the question for us also is, how do we really support our indigenous languages in terms of publications, in terms of because that is the way in which I think they will also be able to develop their language and other things, So, and that is the attraction for us as to why, we should really pay attention to some of those places that nobody reports about them, or it's only when something terrible or something happens someone reports. But on day-to-day basis, because I think the presence of the media in every part of our country for me is to be a witness to history. Who is going to be the witness to history that is happening in my village, in anybody's village and other things, or should we just allow these things to go like that? So that to us is the attraction, and why we thought that we should really continue to support those kinds of media that are there, that are local, that are rooted in communities and other things. Now, in terms of man of prestige issue around corruption and other things, so I tell people that the work we are doing about corruption is really about life and death. Truly, corruption is about life and death. The poor people in our society are the major victims of corruption. They are the major victims of corruption. They are the ones that their children will be illiterate for generations to come. Their children will be illiterate for generations to come because somebody who is supposed to build a classroom, to employ a teacher, to buy the class materials and other things, somebody has taken those money, resources, and put them in their own pocket. So they are doomed forever and ever. I tell people that, look, the reason why, sometimes, unfortunately, our country will be in a bigger shit than we think about it now is that because we are going to have generational problems. The children of poor people now, their children will ever be poor. They will not have the opportunity to break away from that poverty because the people in power are so greedy that it is going to impact on them forever and ever. So fighting corruption is not an esoteric thing. It's not something that we talk about it just for the fun of it, but we are doing that one because we believe that when women go to hospital to give birth, and every parent's hope that is for their wife to give birth to a child in a very good condition. But we are the second largest country with the highest number of maternal mortality. It shouldn't be the case. So women who under normal circumstances, they will be very joyful. They will be very happy to go to give birth. They will go there. That place become a mortuary for them. It's a mortuary for them. And it's mortuary because some simple medication of 200 naira, 300 naira, government either have provided them, somebody have just taken that money and put them in their pocket, and that is end of the road. You see accidents on our roads because there are big holes. There are big holes. Contract have been awarded for these big holes. People go in there and kill themselves, go to the orthopedic hospitals and see the number of people who are in that kind of difficult situation. So fighting about corruption in our country, for me, is just a kind of question of life and death. And that's why we have to be committed to ensure that we reduce the menace of corruption in our country. Now, from our own point of view, we can do it as we are doing it in 4 ways. One is the issue of independent media is so important and so critical. They have to report. They have to keep continuing to reporting to us what is happening to our own resources. Now, it is possible that this report, and that's what I tell many of my journalist friends, they say, look, don't be discouraged by the fact that you do a report, nothing may happen today. Maybe it may happen tomorrow. But one day, somebody is going to dig up this report. Especially now we have all this social media and art. Someone is going to dig up the report and will remind people as to what has happened. And that may be used as an evidence against some people. So we think that an independent critical media is so important and so critical. The second thing we are trying to do is around the criminal justice system. And all of us, we know this. In our country, the rich people, the corrupt people know how to damn the system. They'll get 80 lawyers, sons. They'll go to a magistrate who have just finished university from the next one. All these 80 or whatever lawyers, they will just appear before them. They show how, with all their wigs and everything, that is just enough intimidation that a young person who have just finished becoming a magistrate will not even have the courage even to think about anything, because they are just simply intimidated by all these big people with a lot of money. They can buy anything and we can do whatever they do, and they can get away with that one. So we have to, so that's why we've paid special attention to the criminal justice system, because if you look at the cold cases that have been there for the last 10, 20 years, they are just like this. And then, of course, they become governor, then they have immunity, then they go to become senator, and then they become a minister. So they just try to recycle themselves along the corridors of power so that they can continue to be in power and try to get away from the system and other things. So within that, paying attention to the criminal justice system is important, because we have to punish people. People have to know that if they do something, they can be held accountable, and then we have to deal with that in that case one. So that is the second way in which we think that we can fight corruption. The third one is about behavioral change. Now, yes, if you do something wrong, we should call you accountable for it. But we should also pay attention to our behavioral change. What are the norms? What are the values? What are the behavioral things that we do that actually promote corruption in our society? So if Rudolf now becomes the senator or the councillor, and he goes around and spend all kinds of money and other things, nobody's going to ask him about, how did you get the money? His own problem is, if he doesn't do all those things that he's supposed to do, or that is expected of him. So, how do we change the behavior of people? How do we look at what are the norms that push people into those kind of things? So that's why we are working with a number of entertainment industry, because entertainment industry, as you know, is very critical and very important to our society, and how they project people, who are the good people in our society, who are the bad people in our society, and other things. So we are working with that one. But we're also working with our faith leaders. We are asking the faith people, what does the Bible says? What does the Islam says about good behavior? Is it just enough for us to just be praying 5 times a day, and then in between them we do everything that is bad? Is that what we're supposed to do? Or should we just start with Muslim prayer, end up with Christian prayer, and in between we do all the bad things? What does our faith say about behavior, about norms, about values, and about justice in our society and other things? And the last element of the work that we do is around civil society. we need to support civil society groups and organizations who may be doing the naming and the shaming, who may be doing a lot of farming, because I think that what we don't do also enough in our society is also recognize people who are doing good things. All the headlines in our newspapers about bad people, but we hardly see any headline about good people in our society. So we have to be thinking about how do we encourage people who are good people to be shown as actually, they are good role models that we need to do in our things. So we support like Integrity Idol or even Signature TV. They go and look for good people in society, in small people who are doing extraordinary things. People who are doing all kinds of difference in their society. No one is paying attention to them, but they're actually doing good things. So, so what I'm trying to say is that to fight corruption or around the work around corruption is not an esoteric thing. It's a life and death issue for most Nigerians, because that corruption has killed our country. And I think that if we want to have any decent society, we have to work towards reducing the level of corruption that we have. And then in doing that one, we think that you need to have an independent media. You need to have a criminal justice system that can get people accountable for whatever they do. You need to focus on the behavioral change. Then you have to look at, how do you support strong civil society groups and organizations that may be advocating for new laws, that may be doing the whistleblowing, that may be affirming people for doing good thing, but also shaming people who are also doing the bad thing as well. So those are the 4 elements or the building blocks for the work that we do around corruption.
So much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Peter, let's try you again. Peter, can you hear me and see if you can? Go ahead, Peter.
Hear me, everybody.
Yeah, we can hear you. Where are you, Peter?
I'm in UK here.
Okay.
Our network, we don't know who knows. If we are Nigeria, we don't know. It's not working the way you want America. Sorry about that.
Okay. King Charles is not doing very well. All right. So can you ask a question? You have a question or comment for Dr. Shettima?
Yeah, from woman to a man. You go hard. Woman, now lip and cake that they buy. Men would like plenty things. So we need plenty money. Yes, Dr. Shatima, good evening, good afternoon. A lot, like what you said, they are very fascinating, and it's a good thing that you've said so far. My take here is this. I'm going to really talk about your own region. So at least I hope we are not saying too much. One instance is I saw an house in London. It was an announcer, and he spoke English. When he speaks English, I look at him, but I will say, "Oh, you say he's an announcer?" The movement said, "Yes." So from where? He said he's from Ghana. I said, "So are you there educated?" He said, "Yes." I didn't stop there. I got some Ghanaian friends. I came said, "This is what I saw. How does it happen?" It's Kuruman. He makes sure that educated. He said they put budget them, and they be so educated in that region. More every other Ghanaians. What am I trying to get at, Dr. Shatima? That my own perspective. When we were younger, we used to believe that the Northerners are the most honest people we have in that Nigeria. But today, I've seen that most of the things I started understanding is that we have to give them 2% to go to school. We have to do them this favor. We have to do this. I started thinking, how can you give a minister of education 2% to go to school? In this, why do we go to school even though we don't know the book? We want to be like the professor who is in the university. We want to be like. We don't want the women to laugh at us. We want to be proud of we are going to school. Whether college, marry school, you have pride for it. So why is it not that we have to give somebody 2%? It's already a minister. That also caught me. Another one I'm going to go so deep is that I started realizing that. Sorry, I'm going to go a little bit, Dr.
Yeah, Peter,
Damages.
can you just round up? Go to your
That's why I should have been very long, but I'm briefing them. Stay too long. But I want to talk to Dr. Shatima, please. Let me put a little thing, because if I without giving references, it will not make sense to me. Now, the budget thing of a thing. We hearing budget. We think that something that we have to use to buy suite for the president, or budget is just something that allocation. All these things as well. Many of us don't know about what is budget. This thing is another thing that affects us. I want to talk about this budget so that we will be more learned. And does people really understand why we are voting? And again, the political
Peter, we have to stop you. I'm sorry. We have other people.
Give me chance now. We have spoken. Let me ask question. I'm going to ask question.
No, we don't have that time. You know, it's 19
minutes. I'm not. Let me quickly ask this question, please, Doctor. Because we are talking to the Dr. Shatima here. Let me talk to him. Asking questions. Now, the north part of our country. That is my own my own right. I am saying that we are behind because of the north in everything. So why is that? What is our regional leaders doing in this area?
All right.
Because let me finish, Doctor. We're talking about corruption. You be aligning them. I've seen more that the regional leaders are more effective in this area. And what is the purpose of this Sharia law? If we are talking deep, the way you.
Thank you, Peter. Well, Dr. Shettima, you can say whatever you want to say, answer whatever you want to answer. I don't.
Well, I think that Peter is a victim of corruption. You know, he's no, you can say, we can't even say his face. I think that you know, I thought he's in Abuja or somewhere. You know, despite all the millions and billions of naira and dollars we have put, we are still suffering from lack of electricity and other things. But I guess he's a victim of inflation. Maybe he's trying to conserve his money in. You know, in the UK, the prices of electricity have gone through the roof. So you can also understand that he's maybe trying to conserve some of his funds so that he has a better. It was maybe that he's a victim of that one. So since he's a victim, I'm not sure that his questions. You know, is under very, very cloudy situation. But I think the point about education and the responsibility of leaders is very critical and very important. I think that for me, I think for too long, I think that Nigerians are very good at pointing at the center and think that, you know, the center should be the one that will provide the things. Even my grandmother, you know, when there is no water, she will be asking whether Buhari is the president of Nigeria or not. I say, but don't you have a counselor in our village? You know, is the counselor not supposed to be providing these things? Why are you looking at us to whether President Buhari is alive or not? Because at the end of the day, you know, people who are responsible should be the responsible people. You know, if I have a counselor in my place, I think should be responsible for at least some of the better things that I need, rather than pointing fingers. And that's where I think that the responsibility of the governors, the responsibility of the whatever lower levels of governance are so also critical and very important in doing that one. You know, I think that we have, you know, I think we are also guilty by paying probably disproportionate attention to what is happening in Abuja. But I think that our governors are really, some of them, not all of them, you know, getting away with murder and behaving with money as if this is a personal property and they can just do whatever they want to do and get away with it. And I think that is also underscore the importance of having the independent media, the independent investigation at the lower levels of governance as well, because a lot of the things that are happening in those levels of government are as bad, if not worse, than what is happening at. So for me, I think that there is a greater responsibility for us to all our own regional governors or state governors as responsible for a lot of the problems and other things. Yes, there is 2% for basic education or something we give, but a lot of the money should come from our state governments. Our governors are the ones that should primarily be responsible for our own education and not the federal government of Nigeria. And if those, if our governors, they don't do that one, I think that they should be held accountable for those one. Those 16 million or so are not living in Abuja. They are living in either Kano or in Kaduna or in Sokoto or wherever they are living in. That's where they are living in. And those people who are responsible for that one, in my view, I think they should be held accountable for what they are doing.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Shettima. Ralph, you're next.
All right. Thank you, Doctor, for having me. Greetings, Dr. Shettima. I joined late, so I missed most of the good stuff. I will watch the replay and catch on later. So forgive me if my question is something that you have tackled already. I know when it comes to civil societies, especially in this age of social media, I know when it comes to like Nigeria, Africa, one of the biggest problems that I've seen is disinformation and misinformation being used to attack the credible organizations doing any work, especially good work, because you also have civil societies that do bad work, in my opinion. So how does your organization tackle that issue? How do you deal with the prevalence of misinformation, attacks? Because if you're really doing something good, there's always going to be attacks. Now people will start throwing information out there saying they'll just put an accusation. Oh, he's from the north. He's only getting money. He's getting money, so he's only helping people from the north. He's not doing anything for the whole country. They don't want to help people in the east. They don't want to help people in the south. So how do you guys tackle situations like that and stuff like that?
No, I agree that I think that misinformation, disinformation is a big problem. It's a big challenge for all democracies, for all institutions, for all organizations. I think we're all suffering from that issue as well. I think that certainly one thing is, in some ways, more information, more voices are always important, because what happens is that, if, for example, people now come and say that this organization is a bad organization and other things, I'm sure there are people who will immediately react and say that, look, so for example, if people say Ikenga Online is bad and is doing this and that one, immediately other people will also have the opportunity to say that, look, this is not our own experience about it. This is not the way it is and other things. So I think that one of the things for me about social media is that probably sometimes more social media actually helps to counter those bad social media as well. Otherwise, if we restrict them, then I think we may have a bigger problem in our hand as well. So that is one of my response. But I think the other one is also just being transparent about what you do and what you say. At least, for example, for MacArthur Foundation, I think everything we do is just on the website. Everyone who gets a penny is always on the website. So, people can go and see and look at it and say, whatever if you say we are giving more to this one or that one or whatever, the money is the fund is there. You can always see it, and you can make your own conclusions and judgments about those ones. I know that we have been attacked many times that we are giving money to civil society groups because we are anti-government and other things. And I tell them we are probably one of the largest supporters of government institutions. We support ICPC, we support EFCC, we support SCUMOL, we support TUGA, we support the Code of Conduct Bureau, we support all these government institutions. But of course, people will not look at those ones. All they are saying is, oh, you are given, okay, this Sahara reporters are written this about us, or these people, Premium Times are written about this. But they don't also see the fact that we actually also support number of government institutions. So we are not anti-government. That's not the way we approach it. We want to give opportunity for people to air their views and opinions, and we support government institutions just as we support civil society. As you said, wide level, really, not everybody in civil society is a saint, just like not everybody in government is a crook. We don't come with that belief. But what we believe is that is only when government and civil society work together, that is when change will happen in our society. Civil society on its own can do the advocacy work. We can do all the naming and the shaming thing, but the change will happen only when government moves. And that's why I think that supporting good people in government is so critical and very important to ensure that and there are people in a society who have done in government who have done very well, and I think they should be supported in order to do well. They may not be the majority, and certainly they are not the majority, but there are few of them who have done good things, and I think our job is to see how do we support also good people in government to do the good work that they are doing, so that the pressure that will come from civil society and the work that is being done as a result of the pressure from government will make the difference. But I know that working with government is a very, very difficult process. Sometimes not because they are bad people, but just because, somebody has been transpired and the signature cannot be changed. And that can take your work to be delayed for 1 year. I know we support some government institutions that our work have been delayed for 2-3 years because of change of signature, or because there is someone, they have to go to TSA and the central bank and somebody has to do something. So it's a very difficult thing. But what I tell people is that if we want to change our country, government has to change. We don't have any option. Government has to change. If we don't change the government, whatever we as civil society are doing is just a drop in what a good government can do. And that's why I believe that supporting government is so critical and very important in whatever we do.
Thank you.
Okay, Osi, go ahead.
Yeah. You see, I couldn't resist saying something about corruption because, at the Kenya, public accountability is at the center and core of what we do. And so sometime, I think it was last 2 years, that one of the governors, one of the ex-governors in the Southeast was actually put behind bars after a lengthy rap with the EFCC. And so it was one of those moments that I actually celebrated, So some of my friends in the Southeast were asking, okay, so why are you so happy that this guy was put behind bar while his colleagues in the North are gallivanting all over the place? Okay, my response was that I will always celebrate when one criminal is brought to face justice, and that I don't care if somebody else decides that their thief will walk the street and go scot-free. I am happy that my own thief is brought to justice, So why am I saying that? It's because of the mindset. I think it was Samora Machel that once stated that for post-colonial Africa to rise, tribes must die, And I think there's nothing more poignant than that statement, because I think one of the biggest problems we face about fighting corruption in Nigeria is that as long as whoever is perpetrating the corruption we believe is one of our own, we are fine with that. We only begin to complain when we feel it's the other side that is the beneficiary of the, of the corruption. And that's I think is at the center of the biggest problem we have, the mindset. Very recently in the news, I'm sure some of you were following it, that the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, whatever you call him, is facing some challenges. What happened? Because somebody somehow went to his farm and found $4 million there. And one security chief had to go make those reports and all those things. So when I heard that, I had to quickly try to connect it with what the situation would have been if we were to be dealing with Nigeria. I mean, if you go to a governor's house in Nigeria and you find a measly $4 million, nobody's going to raise any eyebrow. No, you see the difference. Now, you have the president of a country, and somebody even had the audacity to go to the police and make that report, And we are talking about a country where the predecessor is languishing in jail for the same corruption. So you could see that even South Africa, which is an African country, is light years ahead of us in terms of fighting corruption because of the mindset of the people. So if we don't, with the moment we start to really recognize what is going on here by starting to change people's mind, it's very unfortunate because these people that are born, like say in the past, maybe 20 to even 30 years, many of them think that corruption is the norm, that if somebody should go to occupy an office, if you don't actually do the treasury and do what you need to do, that something is wrong with you. So that is where we all need to stand and try to reorientate the people's mind. Because I think corruption is at the center and core of the problem we have today in Nigeria. So I'll stop so far.
All right, thank you. Ijoma, you're next. Before you answer, let me mention to Dr. Shettima, there's a question here from, I think, from Facebook. It was talking about Amnesty International. There was a time recently when they ran into a problem with the Nigerian government for the work they are doing. So this person wanted to know if your organization has been in that situation where the government will be feeling that what you are doing, the people you are supporting, are not the people they like. And what did you do in that situation? All right. You answer that when you answer Ijoma. Ijoma, you're welcome.
Hello. I have a question to Dr. Shettima.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know your organization, your foundation, but what you have highlighted this evening is quite impressive. I made a comment already. It's quite lovely to see something, such an organization coming up from Nigeria. And you mentioned that we only get the negative part of it. And it's quite lovely to hear something so impressive coming from Nigeria. And you are the one behind it. Thank you so much. My question to you is, something good has also challenges. Is it possible, or will you be able to highlight some of the challenges you are facing in Nigeria to do such a remarkable job? Thank you.
All right. So Dr. Shettima, over to you.
Yeah, I think I will start with Ijoma. In terms of challenges, there are many challenges. Oh no. So I think first of all, because okay, I'm not in Abuja, but I want to change my source of power to ensure that unlike Peter, who is suffering from that, I'm not. So, one of the issues is that just because, people think because Kole Shettima is from their village and therefore they must get a grant, they must get a grant. And so that is one of the mentality and the challenges that you always face, because either you know somebody from this place and other things. So let me give you an example. I remember when we were working with universities. So I went to the University of Maiduguri. My other colleague, Professor Okechukwu Ibianu, who was at the INEC as National Commissioner, he was from the UNN. And we did a competition. And of course, both UNN and University of Maiduguri, just a second, sorry. None of those two institutions qualified for the grant. And that was a big trouble for both of us. Because the people in University of Maiduguri felt that, how is it possible that someone from their own university, the head of MacArthur, they never got the grant. Then Professor Ibianu, University of Nigeria, how is it possible that who was University of Nigeria, Nsukka, was deputy director of the MacArthur Foundation, the grant as well. And it caused a lot of trouble for both of us, because people believe, even this is university, you can even these are not even like village people that you can think about them. These are university people who ordinarily you think that, actually things should go through certain process and that process should be followed and other things. All of us were in big trouble. When he went back to UNN, he was at the staff club and they were mocking him that, look, now that you have come back to us, you are going to be in a big problem, because when you are at MacArthur, you did not give us money and other kind of things. So I think that is a just typical kind of example that you see and hear in terms of, how our people think that, once you are from one place and you have the resources, then the people from that place are the ones that are supposed to benefit from those places and other things. That's one of the biggest challenges that we face on a daily basis in terms of the pressure that we get and other things. But, we have to try as much as possible to explain to people that, look, there's a process, and that process has to be followed. Otherwise, then only the people from my village are going to get the money, or rather people who are going to get, if they are not qualified, really you cannot justify that kind of spending and other things as well. So that is at the personal level. I think that is one of the issues that we face on this. And then second challenge we also face is that, our country, if you look at civil society that we support, they are not evenly spread throughout the country. So even if we want to really support people in every part of the country that we do, unfortunately, the people that we are likely to support are the people who have more developed systems, more developed structures, and more developed skills than the people probably that they may even deserve. Because the way that it organizes that, most people are either in Lagos or maybe people are in Abuja. Okay. Now, but Abuja and Lagos are not the only people in our country. But you find that if I'm now going to say I'm going to support, let's say, someone in Zamfara, or someone in Ebonyi, or someone in Akwa Ibom or Cross Rivers, because of the uneven development of our society, whereby these structures or these organizations are not established in those places, you find that even if our good intention is to make sure that every place and everywhere is represented, sometimes we cannot do that one. It's just that the way, unfortunately, our society is developing other things. So that's why sometimes you find us giving money to one big organization, and that big organization now going to give it to a number of other organizations, so that those small organizations will not have they will not, those who don't have the structure, the organization, the human resources, and other things to write proposal, go through all those requirements, that they don't really have the people to do those kind of things. So maybe that's a way in which try to mitigate the reality that we cannot support all the deserving people throughout our country just because of the differences in terms of infrastructure, human resources, organizational capacity, and all those kind of things. So we have to figure out, how do we go about doing that one. Now, so that is a challenge of, how do we really try to be inclusive? Even if we try to be inclusive, sometimes we are not actually as inclusive as we really want to be inclusive, just because of the reality of the situation that we find ourselves. Of course, we also find groups and organizations that I think it was White Level who said, we think that they are good people. We think that civil society are good. Sometimes we give them the money, and when we read the report and other things, we know that they have not done the work actually. But that is how it is. It is difficult for us to really hold some of those people accountable. So we have to go through extra length of, okay, how do we supervise them? Do we require, let's say, usually in the foundation, we ask for an annual report. So, but when we see these things, we say, okay, can you give us the report quarterly, or can you give us 2 months quarterly, so that at least we can try to keep on top of people and organizations and other things. I know, Ejoma, you wanted to ask a question, but the last point I want to add in terms of whether government and how are we dealing with this, it's true that governments, especially like the debate that Rudolf mentioned. So even my friends, so if today one presidential candidate, is interviewed by Kadria or somebody, they will come and say, how is this possible? Should asking this kind of question. You people should never allow you have money to do asking kind of question and other things. So now, their candidate has gotten some bad question. Then the following day, another presidential candidate comes on board. Then the same problem happens. The other my friends from the other party will come and say, did you hear this one? Did you listen to that question that she asked? She's very rude. How can she ask this person this kind of question? And I tell them, look, we give them money, but we really actually don't tell them what question they should ask, what they should do. This is not our business. Our own is just to give them the resources to do another thing. So government people are sometimes very angry, very unhappy when, some of these, my friends, especially in the media, they do some programs and other things. Then they will send it to me and say, look, it says supported MacArthur Foundation. Does it mean that you have endorsed this program? So, people with all kind of this kind of question that they ask me and said, look, yes, it is supported by MacArthur Foundation, but we really actually don't ask them to do this program or that program and other things. So I can assure you that when Rudolf does his program, or when Adiola does our program, my hair sometimes is I get all kind of calls. People will tell me the clip. and say that, look, you people are supporting these people and other things, but I tell them that, look, we really don't actually tell them what to say or what not to say. All we are asking everyone of us to do is to be fair to people. Ask them a fair question. And you should get, people who should be asking fair questions, and we should also represent different perspective in a program. And I think that is only thing that we ask for people. But really, there's not much we can do. But I can assure you that we get all kinds of phone calls and clips and telling us as to why they think that we should not stop, we should stop supporting these people or that people or other things. So there are many media houses that are giving us sleepless night. But I tell them that our job is not to tell them what they should say and other things.
All right, thank you so much. We're rounding up now. So Ijoma, what is the question you have? He said more than one.
I think he has answered that already, because I want to ask about how the government support his foundation. Is it the government, or do you get from the private, private individuals, companies? How you get the resources, because also money is part of the resources, not only the people doing the job. So that was the aspect I wanted to ask. How do people embrace this kind of foundation in Nigeria? That was what I wanted to ask.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that I think at the initial stage, I think we tried to explain the genesis of the foundation. So the foundation actually, we are fortunate in so many ways that John MacArthur and his wife Catherine were very wealthy real estate people. They were into banking and insurance. They made a lot of money, especially in Chicago, in Florida, and other places where they made their money. I think John MacArthur himself died in 1978, and then his wife died in 1980. And I think before he died, he basically said, look, I have figured out how to make money. Help me to figure out how to spend it wisely. That's the only thing that he told. So everybody in the place is actually employed, an employee, no member of the family. So all our income and everything comes from the estate of John MacArthur. So just like every other many people who look up into the stock market, whether it's doing badly or good, we also look up to the stock market to find out, is our asset increasing or is it decreasing, or are we running into problems and everything. So that is how the money and resources are invested. And then I think we are required by law to spend a minimum of 5% of our asset in terms of charitable giving. So that is how we are able to get the resources to do the work that we are doing.
Thank you, Dr. Shettima. So we have to end here unless white level you have follow up, any question or no? And
no, I don't have a question. I just my wrap up would be thank you for coming, and I appreciate you effort bringing the point on transparency, because I think people fail to. I don't think we get to hear that part, and we are all about we want change, we want a revolution, we want everything, but we forget how big just being transparent can be. If you're transparent, it changes a whole lot of things. It removes doubt when people have questions about who you are, your personality, your character. And if you're doing the work and it's transparent, you cut all the noise. So thank you, and keep up the great work.
Okay, just one more, because he just joined us. Oh, he's out now. John Abba, I think he may have a question. John Abba, do you have a question for Dr. Shettima?
Yes.
Okay,
quick one. Oh, Doctor, thank you for coming to Dr. Rudy's show. Good to see you. My first question is that what is your advice to Sowore if you are before him right now, and what you say that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You do.
Okay, Rudy is already smiling. I think he's not hearing me. I'm not in UK. I mean, my internet is not 2G. I think you should hear me better. So, what is your advice to Sowore if it's before you right now? Because I heard you have been following up from the other side. And secondly, since you guys are supporting government, because based on your statement is that for the society to function better, since the government have a bigger role to play, you guys support it for that reason. Do you have a preference candidate? You do not have to answer it though, that one. So that you don't stop getting some. I don't understand.
All right, Dr. Shettima.
Okay, so I think that, do I have a preference, candidate? I think that this is for the MacArthur Foundation.
You have a preference candidate in the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For the MacArthur
and you don't
Foundation.
have to answer it.
No, I'm going to answer it. I think for the MacArthur Foundation, the preference is for a candidate that will, that will win through the process that is duly laid out. And our job really is to make sure that the process is transparent, is credible, to ensure that we support INEC a lot in order to make sure that INEC gets its own acts together and get the resources that it needs to do its own work. We support civil society groups and organizations, maybe about 20 of them working on credible election. So our own candidate is the process, and we are supporting the process to ensure that the process produces whatever candidate that emerges out of the 2023 election. And I think that is the key important one. Do I have any advice for Shore? I think that if he's the one who, John, if he's the one who come to me, and actually he has come to me, we have sat down, we had conversations, and I've given him my own advice to him. So as I said that I've given him my own advice privately. So I think let's leave it at that point.
So if I'm coming to running for president today, I need to see you so that I don't go and blow it up coming from the top. So I have to start from the bottom.
If you come to me, I'll give you a private advice as well, and I will make sure that I don't announce it on the pages of Dr. Damages.
Okay, I was trying to say that Dr. Damages have been telling him to go and run for governor of Anambra State. I would be very supportive of him. But I think if you go there now, based on your advice, he will fail because he has to become a local government chairman.
Okay.
All right, Janaba, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Man of Proceed.
We're
rounding up now. What you have another question?
Yeah, I just want to ask him just one question.
You're running for office too?
Yeah, just your opinion. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Dr. Kole Shettima, thank you very much for coming on this platform. Like I said earlier, I didn't know about your foundation, but I just happened to find out about your foundation. Since the last time, I spoke to you, which was like about 30 minutes ago, I went back and read some of your profile. It's very impeccable. So keep up the good work. Okay, that's my commendation to you. So my last question is to you, just an opinion. I'm not saying you're an expert in, what's going to happen. What do you think? Are we going to have what may be maybe a reasonable, credible election? I mean, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be like the United States. I mean, what's your opinion on this coming election? Any credibility to it, or is it going to be the normal ring or whatever? Just an opinion.
All right, Dr. Shettima, before you answer, let me add also a similar thing. If there are problems after the election, is there any role that your organization or any non-government organization can play to reduce the tension? I'm thinking about they call themselves the peace group or something, where you have Bishop Cooper. So do we have any structure like that, just in case things go bad?
Well, there is a National Peace Committee, as you may be aware, which is led by the former president
Abdul Salami.
And then I think the secretariat is based at the Kuka Center. And I think there are a number of people who are members of the Peace Committee, some of them business people like Dangote, and then some civil society members also part of this, and religious leaders like the Cardinal and the Sultan and others who are supposed to be helping with this process and other things. And I think that is critical and very important. But I also think that it is very important for also and I think that's where the role of the media and other citizens are also critical and very important. I always tell people that, the Peace Committee is important, but we should probably, every state should have its own Peace Committee, because the issues from at each of many states are really quite different. there are many different, in every state. I think we should really be focusing on how do we bring about or promoting a credible and peaceful election at our own state levels, in addition to whatever the national people are doing other things. Because if you look at some of the things that are happening at the state levels, whether it is, you have been reading reports of, some of the statements coming out of Borno State, or what is happening in Kano State, or some of the other state and other things. This, at the end of the day, really states, you really need to have this, state-specific kind of interventions in order to ensure that things do not get out of hand in those states as a result of this one. So I think that all of us, I think we appreciate that the impact of insecurity is going to have on the elections. And I think that we should all be watchful and be vigilant and try to see how that will impact our election and what can we do in order to minimize the election, the challenges. I wouldn't be surprised if the politicians also have figured out how to deal with the situation. I'm not surprised if they go and buy some of these warlords and others to ensure that there is some form of election that happens in those places, because they are also thinking about, their own, they're also bright, at least in certain ways. So I think that definitely, I think that a credible election is critical and very important. I think that I get the sense that for many Nigerians, especially for the young people, 2023 for them is really one of the rare opportunities of hope for them. And I think that if we bungle that one, I think that the younger people especially will be so disillusioned and so devastated that probably it will take a long time for them to recover and to have another rare of hope that will happen. So I think for the young people who really have invested so much in trying to see that this 2023 is one of the few opportunities for them to have hope, I hope we will all work towards that direction.
Okay. Dr. Shettima, I know I said you were going and we are ending, but the service just ended somewhere, and Mr. Murray just joined us. He was a student union activist and someone that we value his opinion. So we will let him ask you one question. And then Okija, the Okija Shrine just ended their service on Sunday, and the Okija man is here. So we need the perspective of the traditionalist. So, Mr. Murray, you are next.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Damages, for having me. It's always a delight to be here. My greetings to our guest today. I didn't listen to his submission or his analysis earlier, but I think from the topic, I could see that he is one of those that have been in the struggle for a better Nigeria. My question is, do you think, considering the role we played during the military era, we are ready to take the bullet? I could remember vividly when we were fighting for the actualization of June 12. We saw tear gas like water, and a lot of us were killed, and we didn't back up. We continued in our struggle. We were brutal, we were murdered. Do you think the civil society organization has gone to sleep? What was responsible? Are we playing our role the way it used to be compared to what the Ghanese of this world, the Agbakobas of this world did? I was serious. The student union leader in Ekpoma, we're ready to, bullet did not really mean so much to us, because checkers was like a normal thing, was a normal routine to us. Have we finally gone to sleep? Considering what the role we played during the military era, one would have expected us to be more active, even in the democratic era. That's just my question to you. I think we have gone to sleep, in my own view.
Thank you, Omori. So, Dr. Shettima.
Oh, okay. I think that for me, this is a topic that you should really have a conversation about, because I've always believed that we need an intergenerational conversation between the older activists and the newer activists. Because I think that, many of the young people or young activists see us as the analog activists who are stuck in certain things, and we also see that there are the the digital activists who are doing the activism on social media and other things. But I think that an intergenerational conversation, and I think Dr. Omejimis, you should organize one between the older generation of activists and the newer, I think is very important, because I think that we can all learn many things from each other. In the sense that I think that the older activists, as he said, and I said earlier on, Mr. Omori, when you are not around, at that time, you know, many of my friends that I knew them today, they only came to Maiduguri as NYC members. And all they had to do was that he was a student leader at Uniben, or a student leader from Unifort, or a student leader in Unilag. And when he comes over, you are home. You are home because you all believe in something that is big and bigger for Nigeria. And we did not have to like even worry about transport money or any of those things. At that time, the middle class was, you know, relatively good. As a student, you know, we could get some money. Many of our teachers were giving us money because they could also afford to do that. Now, unfortunately, the teachers now, you know, the students are the one who are giving money to teachers, unfortunately, because the teachers have been so pauperized. They have become so poor that even the teachers are beggars now. So I think that the status of the middle class in our country have declined so badly that we really are living in a situation whereby the struggle by the younger generation is quite different from what we had. There's nothing, and that's what I tell all those people, that there's nothing better than really putting your boots in working on the ground and organizing people. That is the way in which organizing happens. Yes, you can organize people on social media and it has its impact and other things, but these are different forms of generation. So I will say that I think we need an intergenerational conversation between the younger generation of activists and the older generation of, you know, NANS people came to my office. When was that? On Monday or so. I was shocked. One was saying to me that he is the principal private secretary of the Secretary General. I said, I mean, hello, when did NANS become a government institution where you have assistant to the president of the president of NANS? You know, he has like 3 or 4 assistants. Then they have something that is assistants. I said, hello, where did we go wrong? At least for me, that's what I felt. But they tried to explain to me why they think this is necessary for them to have this kind of structure, institution. So you are actually mimicking the government, the governmental institutions in terms of what you do and other things. So I think we need to have intergenerational activist conversation. I think we need to talk to each other. There are certain things we can learn from them. And NSAS tell us that there are so many things that we have taken for granted before that we can actually learn a lot from them. I think they have shown us how they were able to organize resources, how they were able to deploy resources. They were very, very accountable in the way they did their things and other things. So that is something that we can learn from them. But I think that maybe we can also teach them certain things from the older generation of things, that the way that things were done before.
Okay. Omori, I don't know how much time you have, Dr. Shettima. Omori wants a follow-up, but let me, if you still have time, we can get to him. But Okija, you will have a question?
Yes, thank you, Doctor, for joining us. And Dr. Damages, I was in my second service, church and then a football. France just finished, so that was the service. Anyway, Doctor, like I said, Doctor, welcome. My question is this, because I think I'm not gonna say that I know much about your foundation, but I think what your emphasis is building society. That's. But I mean, like, some people make this argument that if you build a society, but you build people. But I think that sometimes you have to build people to build society. Foundations in Africa, all these non-profit, they come to Africa, they spend money, they spend billions, and still Africa is just still like still Africa. Don't you think that it is better to still build people, so that people can build society? Because this emphasis on building society, it doesn't work in Nigeria. Pick up people and then enable them. Even if it's business or something like that, so that they can, like in Igbo culture, or not culture, I'll say, but entrepreneurial system. They take people and the people go to their village and take someone and make that person somebody, and that person will take another person and they make that person somebody. So that's what I'm thinking, so because we have spent so much money in Africa, and that and they're still the same. And I think the Chinese proverb, says that you continue to feed people. At the end of the day, they just know the shape of the spoon. And again, my second question is this. Dr. Damages, this show, we have one we do on Saturday. The Sabbath one, and we have people, mostly people from southern Nigeria participate. People from the north, they come. That they disappear. So we don't have a lot of them. If you guys are in Nigeria, what you want to build a society, a Nigerian society. Well, don't you think, for something like a show like this, that you people have to, sponsor a show like this, so that people that will bring northern, because Nigeria is divided, religion line, the south and north, north line. So there needs to be a conversation whereby, people, young people, older people start, come together, start talking. I know you guys, I don't know what you do. I'm not gonna say that I know everything, but I think, in this age we are right now, social media, this is part of social media. Have you guys, have you tried to invest, sponsor a show like this, whereby people can come, social media, talk, try to find a way to build their society, that's my second question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that we can round up, Dr. Shettima, let me just get Omorie's second question. That will be the last, and then I know you have to go, and I know you've done more than the 90 minutes we said. Go ahead, Omorie.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a privilege, Thank you, doctor, for your patience. Because of what you said about SUG, Nigerian student, NAS in particular. During the prolonged ASU strike, I listened to that gentleman. Sorry to use, I don't want to be sarcastic. I don't want to use certain words. Since it's not here. I listened to the NAS president, the so-called NAS president talk. I mean, I was disappointed. Is it the same NAS we used to know, where for the society they had exam to write the following day? They opted to go for, the statement of students that were prosecuted, in Madiguri and Makodi. He had exam to write. Then he told me, I said, Moses, you're going to miss your exam. He said, okay, I'll get back to you in 10 minutes. He came back to me to say, if I miss my exam, I could have opportunity to retake my exam. But if those boys are not reinstated, they may not have opportunity, to come back as students. We opted to go for Makodi. But fortunately, those students were reinstated, but Moses never returned. He died on the way, in a motor crash. My concern is, ASU was on strike for about 7 months. The so-called NAS president was not even in tune with the ASU president. They were not, he said he wasn't picking his cause. My question here is, have the politicians, the criminal politicians, finally infiltrated or hijacked our student unionism like they tried to do in the past? I could remember living at home as a young man. I was, without my parents knowing, the march from Yaba to Ojota to whatever, where Gani fainted because of tear gas, where Bascoba was brutally, assaulted. Are we still talking about the same unionism, student unionism we used to have? Where do we start from? Do we start from our campuses? Or do we look at the way these union students are being elected? Have they been finally bought over by politicians? That's my humble, my question to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Omori. All right, Dr. Shettima, that's it. So final.
Okay. I will just say that I think Mr. Omori is I think he aptly described the unfortunate situation we have found ourselves in terms of the student organizing. I think that if you look at our campuses, even our trade unions, I think they have also be almost in a similar situation as I see it. And it's a very sad, difficult situation. But I think that the option is really always to go back to the basics of organizing on each campus and trying to organize the students. You remember at that time, yes, there was student union, but there was an organization of other students. There's an organization of a student that produced the president of the union. So whether you are APS or whether you are SC or you are whatever organization that you belong to was the one that was really producing the student leadership. But now, unfortunately, the religious people and the ethnic people and the cults have taken over our campuses, and therefore it's not surprising that we are getting the kind of people that we are getting as our student leaders. And therefore we have to do the hard work of going back to organize our campuses in a way that probably we may be able to get better student leaders at this time. And I think that really further make the importance of having this intergenerational conversation between our former activists and the current ones is very important, so that we can learn lessons and see how we may be able to at least reduce some of the challenges that we see in our student organizing, but also trade unions as well, that we see that has also run into several problems as well. Our friend from Okija, who has prayed twice, had 2 services today. I think that I would definitely agree with you that it is important to build individuals. I think that for me, I think it is not an either or. It's not about whether you develop society or develop individuals. I think that we should do both. I think both of them are critical and very important. I think we should support individuals to do what they can do, what they should do. I think the MacArthur Foundation for a very long time had a program which they call it Fund for Leadership Development. And the idea is really to identify individuals in society who are already doing great things that they are doing. It's just to give them little support to do the work that they are doing. Also, as a result of the NSAS, I think we also established the Nigerian Youth Futures Fund with the Ford Foundation, which is run by Leap Africa. And the whole idea is, there are people who are actually doing good things in their own communities, in their little places, in their little corners. All they need is just one little things, maybe buy them a computer, maybe enable them to have an access to internet, or just enable them to get a better phone, give them. They are cleaning their street, they are sweeping their places, they are organizing their communities in civic education, in doing all kind of campaigns in other places. And these are all forms of leadership that we should also value in terms of what they do. So I would say that, let's support society, let's support individuals. I think that, we cannot, divorce one from the other. And I think that is the way I think we should go as well. I'm not sure that I gotten, because I'm 60 years plus, I cannot remember the other question you asked. So I will take I'll take a plea on that one at this point. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Shettima, for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
And thank you very much for having me as well. Thank you.
All right. So we'll take a break. Shatima will leave us, and then we get a recap of what happened today with all our people. Thank you so much for joining us. We will take a mini break, and when we come back, we will do what we normally do, which is to look at what we had and then what's going on in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Osi, thank you so much for joining us. I know today everybody is watching the soccer. People are not really interested in anything else. And there's a big game coming up at 2. I think Brazil is playing. What's happening at 2? Man of Prestige.
No, Senegal is playing England.
Okay, yeah, Senegal, England. Okay, I know you are the one. I see the results. That's all I see. All right, so just say, what is your take on, for those who listen into the conversation with Kole Shettima? Osi. Okay, 1 minute. All right, Ralph. Ralph. Omori. Why is everybody frozen?
Dr. Damages.
Yeah, Omori, yeah, go ahead.
All right. I didn't have opportunity to listen to him. I think I didn't know you were on, and I wanted to go to church. I have a lot of things to do with. I think I wouldn't have loved to miss this opportunity to hear from, and the brigade in the struggle. Anyway, from the way he spoke, I was particularly taken aback when I saw the Minister of Education walking out on the students in a meeting without repercussions. We couldn't take such nonsense in our time. We will block him. We will block him. He will not leave. I could remember we fighting for, they wanted to increase our school fee with 200 naira, 100 naira difference. We could not tolerate it. We could not take it. And student union leader want to talk. Business will be interested. They will be interested because they know the substance that will be coming out. I don't know where we're going to start from. And like you said, I think there should be a synergy between the old and the new generation of activists. Most of them these days are for their pockets. They want to drive the latest car. They want to be close to the politicians so that they can be sure of getting a job as soon as they graduate. They want to be big boys on campuses. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do. It's totally different from the way we were brought up. I was killing my mother. My mother was dying every day emotionally for my sake. Sometimes I didn't allow her to know where I was going for any protest. We have people there that were not interested. In fact, we were wasting our time. In fact, we're just going to, we're not serious with our lives. In fact, we didn't care for our lives. We wanted to die for nothing. But we thought otherwise. We thought we were dying for a better Nigeria. But today I'm still surprised that those that told us we are struggling for nothing, I don't want to say they're almost right, because I don't want to give up until the day God calls me home. I don't think we wasted our time, doing what we did. I missed the opportunity to listen to him. I think it's very unfortunate for me. Thank you, Dr. Damages, for your time. It's always a privilege.
Thank you. One of the things that came up from your question is to have that intergenerational conversation, and I will try to set it up. I will reach out to you, and we try to get out that student union activists who were in the past and the current ones, and we have a conference like this. So we'll make that happen. OC, go ahead. OC, you are muted. Hold on, OC. OC, you are muted. Yeah.
Goodness.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to remind it each time. Anyway, thank you, Omori, for making those points, and looking at you speak, we know it's coming right from your heart. And that's how a whole lot of us feel. But I think what we have to understand is what is happening with students' unionism could be seen replicated across the board. The same reason why, as myself as a medical doctor, each time I get a call, they tell me the kind of how terrible the medicine is being practiced in Nigeria. And what I try to explain to them is, you cannot have a country where everything is falling apart and then you expect that it's only doctors that will practice medicine the way it should. We're talking about this a country where even reverend fathers are now, very much invested in, instead of the ecclesiastical duty they're doing, they've joined the bandwagon of the rat race of trying to acquire the next property. And it goes across the board. Every sector is involved, to the point that almost everything in Nigeria is a counterfeit of what it should be. And I think the reason, aside from trying to say which one comes between the chicken and the egg, leadership is at the center of everything. Because what has happened is that Nigerian leadership has basically pauperized everybody, to the point that we are all at the point of trying to exist, trying to eke out a living. And like they said, self-preservation is the first law. If you lack food to eat, if you lack a roof over your head, you could do anything basically. So that I think is what is happening in with the students union that you're talking about. So 2023 is an opportunity for us to maybe try to retool this engine. I know if we start, instead of going back, at least we put a stop to that. I don't think any of the presidential candidates is going to come and just all of a sudden turn Nigeria into a Dubai. But what we're saying is at least stop the hemorrhaging, so that plug some loopholes, so that at least we can have the audacity to hope, to begin to think, that things will move in better direction. So that's my point regarding that. And then I wish that Peter was here. Peter, the guy that asked, because I mean, at some point I was already starting to get a little bit uncomfortable with his line of questioning, in terms of pointing at the north and all those kind of stuff. There's a problem everywhere in this country, and it's not region or this. I didn't even want to go through that with Kole on board, because I'm sure some people are going to come across as like, oh, you're trying to please the north. No, that's not the truth. We have to acknowledge that there's the problem that we're having in Nigeria is across the board. We have tribes, Yoruba and all those kind of things. But there's another tribe, which is the tribe of looters, which is the tribe of those who are doing all these things to all of us, But they've perfected the art of, pitching everybody against each other, that we just don't seem to recognize that they are the one that are doing. And as a corollary to what I'm describing, there's a whole lot of misunderstanding between the individual parts of Nigeria, whether it's understanding the fact that when you say the North, it's not a monolith. You have predominantly, of course, the House of Fulani, but you have a tons, except including Kole himself. Kole is a canary, so he's actually in the minority in the North. Of course, you have the middle better, but we are good at just lumping everybody together and thinking that, you commingle the problem with everybody else. The same way, it's not just them. They also don't understand some of the nuances we also face, in the Christian South and all those things. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that we all have to have a little bit of an open mind. If you start going and running with all these stereotypes, oh, the Hausas are this, the Fulanis are this, the Igbos are this, they love money too much, all those. But everybody has one thing or the other that people tend to associate with them, So immediately we start to actually be objective and seeing that it's not, the way we try to do things it hasn't been working, and it's not going to work if we continue in that. We have to be objective, knowing that this is the problem. It's not about race, it's not about tribe, it's not about religion, it's about individuals. When we come out collectively to, identify people who do wrong, they deserve punishment. Somebody who does right need to be acknowledged and praised. If we adopt that culture, then I think we'll now start to make the change we need to building the kind of nation that we aspire to. I know when I talk like this, it sounds like, oh, this guy is being very, he doesn't understand things. He's not being objective. But I think that's just the way it is. But anyway, I'll yield the floor to somebody else.
Thank you, Osi. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Man of prestige. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, okay. Okay, you're ready. I'll come to you.
Yeah. Want me go ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Rudolf. Yeah. Dr. Kole was very impressive. Like I said, I didn't know about him until I came to this.
We have to make a list. People who have bad connections. MCM, Man of Prestige, you just joined them today. I don't know why.
It's my connection.
Yeah, it's terrible. We'll go to Ralph. Ralph, go ahead. Fix it and come back. I know you're in America. You shouldn't. Trump will not be happy with you.
I don't know why.
I was about to ask where Man of Prestige is. I thought it was in the UK because the 5G is not working in the UK, obviously. But yeah,
this is Cali.
No, that you're not in the real Cali. I won't say the Cali that you're in, but I will leave it there for now. But yeah, I want to go. Where's Dr. Ossie? I'm assuming you're a doctor, a medical doctor. Where's Dr. Ossie at?
I think Ossie. Where are you, Houston?
Ossie.
Yeah, sorry. Houston. Yes.
Houston. Okay.
Yes, Houston.
Yeah, thank you. I like a lot of the points you're making. So this issue that Mr. Murray has brought up, it's funny. Mr. Murray, I believe you are ahead of me in age, and not. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but You know, you remind me of something that I was fortunate that I was exposed to newspapers when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think the network hear you clearly, sir.
Can you hear me? So I did not hear what you said, Mr. Murray.
Omori. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I had an incoming call. I couldn't hear you clearly, sir. Can you repeat the question, sir?
No, I did not ask a question. I was just saying, I was referencing to what you said when I mentioned your name. So
okay.
I was just about to start. So I was like, the point Mr. Murray made took me back to my childhood, and I was fortunate to have started reading early. And you know, that's why one of the reasons why I look at the way Nigerians talk about leadership. You know, without even like I have an issue with people who are activists. You know, and I was a kid, I was just about to get into secondary school, and in the newspapers, because back then you had more in the media, you had more. It wasn't as the media wasn't as limited as it is now in Nigeria. That's why under the military there was always closing down various media houses. But in the newspapers then there were different stories, and magazines like Newswatch. There were stories of the military already infiltrating student unions. Babangida made that big effort. He was one of the guys who made it like one of his goals to make sure I will infiltrate the student unions and weaken it. But Bangida wasn't the type to just limit it to only using military to shoot gun, pow, pow, like an Abacha. Abacha really came at you directly. But Bangida that's why he was called the evil genius of what is the best way to weaken the people, know the person, what is your weakness, and attack that weakness. And that's why when somebody lost me a lot of times, because he talks a lot, but he doesn't address how people attack your weakness. They can focus on your weakness and attack. A Dele Giwa's assassination, they don't talk about how there's people who still disagree that Dele Giwa made some mistakes, that's why they were able to focus on. But why was that story? Why is there two sides to his story out there? Because Babangida had that, he had a team that always focused on going for the weakness. And that's how when he started looking at student union after Bangida's time, student union was no longer the same. Now, by the time I'm a young adult, I'm in Port Harcourt. Rotimi Amechi is the speaker of Rivers State. My boy was student union leader for Rivers State University, RSUST. He was a law student and then became the student union president for Rivers State University. Odili gives all the student union leaders, the governor of Rivers State, Governor Odili, he gives all the student union leaders a brand new Toyota Hiace bus. I've forgotten what model it was, but brand new, tear rubber, as they call it, tear rubber. Everybody gets one, which commissioners were getting two. Nobody, like when we talk about all these things now, we just say, oh, the youths are no longer, they are not like the people who were ready to die back then. I'm like, what do you think was happening? What do you think? That is also a playbook from Bangida's time, because Bangida laid that playbook down. You have to go after them, not just with the stick, but you also go with the carrots. And that's why Bangida is like, when you talk about corruption, there's still nobody that has done it like Bangida. Even Vladimir Putin is like literally Bangida at the next level, taking it to the next level. And that's why I don't really listen to a lot of people when people just come up here and just talk about how like a good luck Jonathan is a terrible leader. I'm like, the most terrible leader you've had in your life is Babangida. And people don't even understand the damage that guy did, because he broke something like student unions that came out when we were always protesting against government, trade unions that could tackle the government. He's like, okay, how do we break you guys down? I study you, study them. What do these people like? Oh, you like football. Okay, we'll take that football away from you, but not in the way you see it coming directly. We'll take it in a different way that you'll be clapping for me. Yes, take it away. Look at Nigeria. You had a Nigerian league back in the 90s. Now you don't have Nigerian league. Everybody's Premiership. And we're all like chop Chelsea, up Arsenal. It's part of it. It started from that period, and we all don't even realize it. But now we are like, if you have that conversation, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't have that conversation between the activists of present and the activists from the past. but you will definitely have a language barrier, because there are people who blah how to survive. They have to survive. They have to eat. I'm not saying they shouldn't eat, but I know how my boy, who, because he lived on the same street, we hang out together, we drank. I'm not going to say his name, but we'll call him Honorable. And if you live in Lokoya Estate, you know who I'm talking about, in Port Harcourt. And when he got that bus, that's how I met Rotimi Amechi. That was the first time I met Rotimi Amechi, was through that person when he was still a speaker. But you start noticing how it changes the way he's fighting. He fought for students still, because I knew a couple of students who should have been expelled from RSUST. He will go and talk to Rotimi Amechi, and then letter will come out, and then all of a sudden their case have disappeared. But you start noticing that when it's time to, when Rotimi becomes governor and Rotimi is now misbehaving and his commissioner is overstepping, who is the guy who has benefited from that same government now going to come out and attack? You can't 100% do what you're guilty. You have been stained, because when you now come out, they know how to tarnish you. So you have been trapped. So you're not going to whisper like, oh boy, okay, me I go talk to governor for backyard. I'm loyal, Oga still loyal, but I beg now. I help the students now. Oga, I help the students. You start, but they've hit you from. They targeted you a long time ago. You were thinking that, oh, Oga just like this. Oga just appreciate me working hard. Oga just this young man in the neighborhood. This young man, you're very good. You know what? Take 15,000 for Christmas. Thank you, sir. Just and yeah, I feel for it. But I wasn't in school though. But all of us, we thank you, sir. This man a good man. This man like the boys in the neighborhood. This man, and then tomorrow you hold office. Then what happens? They come for you. We hear you want to organize protests against. You're the youth leader. Even youth leaders for. It was through that same student union leader that I got his village, Obima. Rotimi Amechi is from Obima. One of the Korean villages close to them, they had Shell was going to do oil pipeline. The youth leader was supposed to block that oil pipeline. They told the guy, bring people to Shell. The guy came and took us from Lokoya Estate. We're not Equere. And that's how they bought the guy a long time ago. So the guy came to student union leader. Student union leader organized us. We're going to get 15,000 naira. We came to building. Elders of Equere elders were there. None of them could say anything. We sat down there with the back. All they told us, don't talk. We just sit down in the back. Then at the end of the meeting, it's 1,500. Not even 15,000. They remove 10. You can't even talk, because if you talk now, you don't even know what will happen to you there. But all these things is that Babangida's template of weakening them, weakening the structure. You see it with youth leaders. IYC. I met IYC president in 2012 when I was still 2008. I was at Ijaw National Congress that we had in New Jersey. IYC leader who ran for Senate, he will now run for Senate in Delta State. He's from Patani, Kiyo. Then IYC leader. We had a debate. Back then, he was also on this activist thing and sounded good and everything. But there were certain things that he put his hand in, and you're like, my brother, when you put your hand there, they already, it's like Ibori already trap you. But Ibori won't tell you then. But when you want to come and run for office now, and you are saying, everybody's like, yes, you are our IYC. We knew you when you were IYC leader. You were and then okay, then Ibori is like, my guy, step down. You can't. You can't go for this. Step down. And you just see the guy quietly say, "Not with my tongue." You can't. So there's different layers to it. I just wish people won't make it sound it's black and white or it's as easy as it comes. I'm not saying you shouldn't be an activist, but it's not easy to be a purist as back in the days as it is now. But I still say those who are doing it, it's tough work, and I appreciate them. But we just have to remember that conversations should happen, and the reality on ground is we just have to remember that the attack has been going on for a long time. The invisibility, the worst, the strongest type of attack is not the physical, it's the invisible, because you don't see, you actually, you're not prepared for it. everybody's prepared. You have your fences. You see it in the way we build our houses. We put fence up and you have a gate, but you don't prepare for the mind when they come for your mind and all that. And look at it, our social media and all that. All that's also part of attacks, because how many activists have I seen? Even one came here on 90 Minutes Africa. I see what he's writing on Twitter all the time, and I'm like, it's still that Babangida template. That's still like the biggest damage. Because I was a kid, if I saw it in newspapers and then I'm becoming an adult, it now makes sense what I was reading as a child. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have to go run and watch Senegal.
All right, I know we have to all run, so let me briefly. I know Omori wants to respond. Omori, make it 1 minute so that we can get to other people and.
Yeah, I will make it less than 1 minute, please. I didn't hear the earlier part of your submission. I heard you mention my name. There was an incoming call. I couldn't get you clearly. Please, can you just, if you don't mind, yeah, we are within seconds. Tell me what you called me for at the beginning, please.
Oh no, I was just pointing out that when you started speaking, that's when you triggered my memory of reading newspapers as a child. That was the beginning of those memories coming back. Because there's a lot of things that you've done in the past as a child. You don't. The stories. We think a lot of things are brand new in Nigeria, but they've been in the newspapers. That's
all right.
I saw Nigerian media when it was really vibrant. So that's what you brought to my memory. That's when I mentioned your name in the beginning.
Yeah, thank you very much. We had them back in the days. There were some around Osaka, Moses Osaka. They want to pretend to be activists in the day, in the night. And the house of Lakogbinejo as the governor of Edo State then. One of them later became a speaker in Edo State. We had them. Then we could deal with them. We could place them where they belong. They were not even happy seeing Moses around. They saw Moses as a stumbling block to what they could get. Moses is telling you he's going forward. He will not look back or take his hand back to collect any bribe. So a lot of them were not happy. Even when he died, a lot of them actually saw it as an opportunity for them to emerge as, quote unquote, student leaders. Moses will not take bribe. He will not allow you to take bribe. That was, I don't know what killed Moses, but we missed him. Thank you very much. I listened to your submission. You made a very valid point. As IBB infiltrated the campuses, I brought our student leaders over. Thank you very much. I appreciate your submission.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ijoma, go.
Yeah, what I want to take about from Dr. Shettima, I think that was what you asked. He made a mention that positive things should be communicated, because on this, not on your platform, Mr. Okonkwo, please don't be offended, but all what we get is all negative. And that's quite damaging, because if you look at it very well, even the younger ones in the diaspora, I think everyone on this platform, if I'm not mistaken, probably have a child at home. And these children are born in the diaspora. So hearing all the negativity in Nigeria is also damaging and quite frustrating and disgusting. So I think what I take with him is, because mentioning also something good is something good and quite refreshing. Because today, listening to this Professor Shettima brought in another view, that means a different view of all the things happening down there. That such foundations is going on in that part of the world. But that's what I want to take with me, and that's why I want to communicate, because it's also very, very positive to communicate. Dr. Okonkwo, probably you get some people like him who are doing extraordinary jobs and improving people's lives. But if all the time hearing negative, this one, yeah, of course, such things should be communicated as well, but also to praise those who are doing very good job. I mean, I've communicated with you online quite a lot, and I say it very open that I'm very, very happy what you're doing, because a person like me, I don't know much about Nigerian politics. I've learned quite a lot, but also I would like to be fed also with positive informations, and that's why I came in, to highlight that point as well, because it's very good for all of us. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ijoma. Eddie, welcome to the show. You look
Hello,
like
good evening.
one of the super egos that means the World Cup.
No, God forbid. Good evening, doctor.
Mr. Rudolf.
Yeah, who is speaking?
Mr. Rudolf. Mr. Rudolf.
Yeah, is that a man of prestige?
Yeah, can I speak just for a few minutes because you missed my time? I have to go.
Okay, Eddie, let him he's our sports correspondent. Okay, man of prestige, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Do you know they're having a town hall meeting today? Atiku is speaking right now at Rise News. The only person that is not there is Tinubu. So I just want to let you know it's currently happening. It started at 1 o'clock.
Is Atiku there?
Atiku is currently speaking right now. Yeah.
Wow.
That's the first time Atiku is attending the town hall meeting. Atiku is going to be there. Everybody's going to be there, except but currently Atiku is. I just want to let you know about that. That's why I just want to speak briefly. Then I leave. But of course, soccer is coming at 2 o'clock, so it's a busy day. But anyway,
I know. That's why we have to round up. I just want to hear from everybody. Omori, what do you want to say? Omori. Okay, all those people who are having connection internet problems, we put them on. Yeah. We have a different room for them. Yeah, go ahead.
Tinubu will never be there. But my question is this a new terminology in our political discourse? Has town hall finally replaced a robust debate? What are the mainstream media trying to do? Have they been compromised? The arrest is not even a surprise to me. You could see when his mother died, what happened at the funeral. You could see the number of private jets and the number of politicians around. Rudolf, we have a long time to go. We have a long way to go, and we have a lot of work, to do. We good people like you. I mean, the social media should have been of added advantage, not a disadvantage. Thank you. The town meeting is good. But we need a meaningful and robust discussion, debate.
You're right.
Yeah, but Rudolph.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what he said, different one, because you have individual asking questions. It's not just the Rise News, so it's a little bit more intense. Thank you.
All right. Eddie, hold on. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening, doctor. Greetings to my Port Harcourt brother, White Label. I greet you. Most of the things White Label said, they're true. As in my opinion, what's it? Unionism or what's the other word?
Activism.
Activism.
Yeah.
It's in Nigeria is dead. It's dead in this generation. It's unfortunate that this is the case. What's his name? White Label said, when the government, in fact, the current unions now, both trade union, TUC, what's the other one, Labour Congress, they all have different factions. And this was not the case in those days. When I say in those days, because growing up, my uncle made me read newspaper as a means of punishment for me. My punishment was to read newspapers for him. So that's how I knew about events happening back then. So then when the union call for a strike, or when the union call up for an event or something, the entire country will be shut down. But currently, if the union, you see maybe ASU call for strike, another subsection of ASU will say, no, we are not going on strike. Or TUC call for strike, another subsection will say, no, we are not part of you. Like what the last White Label said, the government, they've infiltrated these bodies. I could remember the same thing they said about the Rotimi Amici and the boss. They gave them. You can't give student union leaders, give them boss, or give them incentives, give them money, and you expect them not to back you. Back then in Uniport, when I was at Uniport, members of the student union actively participating in what they call it, electioneering for the ruling party then, PDP.
What happened
look
again?
at-
Eddie, where are you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the UK.
Oh, UK, yeah. The UK is just like Nigeria now with internet. We just stopped hearing you.
Stop.
So
CM virus. I've contacted CM virus. Sorry. So that's it. Currently, you're having you see the NSAS. Even though NSAS took a big chunk of the youths, but still, you still see a fraction of the youths countering the NSAS thing, saying you see. So if you have the conversation of the old, I will use the word the old because of the age or the time. Even if you have the conversation between the old and the new, it's not going to work because currently all the activists in our current state, currently in Nigeria, they're all money driven. They're all ambitious. You see, person like Festus Kayamo that was active. How can someone like Festus Kayamo come up and say, "Oh, I sued Tunib"? By the way, I'm not taking this in just because I take all sides. But when I heard stuff from, I remember the publication back then when Festus Kayamo was saying this man wasn't was challenging his education, qualification. At the same time, now today you're coming to say no. What I said then was so invalid, you know. So and you're a son spitting from two sides of your mouth. It's just one of them. You see the other like as for the political clowns like Milai and the rest of them. Those ones, they're like FFK. You can't even take their words for anything. It boils down to the young ones now. If you go on social media, the current influencers, in the modern day, these are the guys that are supposed to be championing good governance and all that. But no, you see a blog advertising for doing political. I know they need to make money having political advertisement. At the same time, too, you're talking about. You're talking about the woes of the government. How can you need to pick a side? They need to pick a side. So currently, my generation, which I suppose the people running social media or in our university institutions now, I think just forget about unionism with them. It's not going to because everybody's before you enter university, you're thinking about how to drive a Benz. You manage to become a leader, a union leader. You already have your mindset is still about the money. So if somebody should come and say, "Oh, support me,"
Eddie,
you said your soul.
Eddie, thank you. We have to stop there.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
Next week we have opportunity to talk more. Okay, Jack, round up.
Okay. Actually, I was just going to second what Level said. Babangida, he did not only compromise the student union or every cadre of Nigerian society. Even there was this rumor that Cardinal Okonkwo, he was Babangida had a compromising photograph of him. I think they said that they sent women to him, and he was he enjoyed himself, so they took pictures. So so that was it. And also the student union also not even only student union, universities because I had this opportunity to meet one guy from Kaduna, southern Kaduna, and because my aunt is married to a southern Kaduna man, and when he found out, he knew my aunt, so we became kind of close, and he started telling me some things. Actually, he was in that school as agent, but they sent him. The Nigerian Defense Academy sent him. He was an agent in that school. Uniben, I didn't go to Uniben, but my friend was at Uniben, so I was always like at Uniben. So so that's some of the things, and also I want to disagree with I think Costa. He said something that with tribe, we have tribe issues still in Nigeria. because I have a young friend in a female. She's Yoruba. She worked for me when I was in Lagos, and I know what I found out that she was not paying attention to the discussion, the political discussion they have. So I was like, who are you going to vote for? She said, I don't know. I said, okay, do your research. So she did her research, and they said, she's going to vote for PDP. And she's broke. I remember when this NSAS, she was in NSAS, she participated in NSAS, and when they shot her, she was crying. She called me. She sent pictures that she was saying Tinubu will pay, Tinubu will pay. And then all of a sudden, she had, she said she's going to support Tinubu. Why are you supporting Tinubu? I don't know that, so why, he's, for eventually I found out that is Yoruba. So you Tinubu that killed our students, you were crying, and then you're in Nigeria, you don't have a job right now, you're looking for money, and you still want to vote Tinubu. So we still have that issue. I don't know how we're going to deal with it. I don't know how, but the peculiar thing, the issue is that the whole world is going crazy. Each country, they have to know how to, structure the society so that they will get what they want. There was this poll that came out, poll or research. Primary school students and secondary school students in US were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? The one that won was influencer. I want to be an influencer. In China, the one that won was I want to be an astronaut. So, so these are two developed societies, and see what is going on. So Nigeria is not in isolation. There is a lot of issue. I don't know where we went wrong. I don't know who went wrong. I don't know. So, but these are for social scientists to study, not me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody that joined us today. We have to call it end here because today is very busy.
Rudolf, I say something quickly.
Okay.
Anyone watching, if you know they use Android, go download my app. It's free. White Label American Podcast. I don't forget plug myself. So
all right, that's good.
Yeah.
White Label American.
I always thought Mr. Murray was in the UK. I don't know, saying America he did.
Yeah, he's in America. All right. Thank you so much. Omori, thank you so much for joining us. Okija, thank you.
It's always a delight. Thank you for having me.
Like and share the video too.
Yeah, please like the video and share the video.
What's your this thing again? White Label. Is that White Label what?
White Label American Podcast.
Okay, White Label American Broadcast. Thank you,
yeah,
bro.
Just check the Google Play app. You go see the app there. It's free.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you next Saturday.
All right.
Peace.